One second, just give me 1 second. We are going live on YouTube. Okay, we are now live on YouTube. We'll Good morning, everyone. And there are a number of we also have a number of participants who have joined online. And welcome all of you to this very important webinar. As you know, this is part of the Let's Fix Our Food initiative, which we've actually taken a bit forward with the help of RTSL, Resolve to Save Lives, and actually called it Let's Fix Our Food, Nutrition Literacy and Improvement of Food Environments, New Life. It's called LFOF, New Life. Let's Fix Our Food initiative, for your information, has been a consortium building activity of like-minded organizations, academic, civil society, multilateral, government, and research organizations and regulatory body. FSSA is also part of it. Together, we are working towards uh, evidence-based uh, policy advocacy for building healthier food environments for adolescents. The major policy briefs that have been released last year in March in 2025 by Professor VK Paul, Niti Aayog, Honorable Member of Niti Aayog Health, and Dr. Rajiv Bahl, Director General ICMR and Secretary DHR, were on 5 broad streams of nutrition literacy, uh, taxation of unhealthy foods, and also advertising and marketing restrictions on unhealthy foods, double duty actions, and a host of other policy measures that are required for bettering policy environment to ensure that ultra processed food consumption is reduced and the consumption of healthier options is promoted alongside nutrition and food literacy among adolescents. In the process, over the last 2.5, 3 years that Let's Fix Our Food has been active, we've been able to build about 150 odd uh, adolescent ambassadors uh, around the country who've been very vocal about these activities and actions that are required on behalf of the government and also policymakers. And alongside that, we also have a lot of other evidence generation activities that we take up. We publish a lot of research papers related to food environments, what prompt children's food choices, and many other things that are actually building evidence for bringing up policy measures. And e-dialogues have been an important series in the Let's Fix Our Food initiative, wherein we try to bring together best case studies and expert views from all over the world and with a specific reference to India. And we usually have regulators, and in every e-dialogue, we do have adolescent and parent representation. But this time it's been a little different because it's a bit more technical topic. So, and this being exam season, we could not get adolescents be part of the panel. Otherwise, in every panel of e-dialogue, we have one adolescent representative, generally from the ambassadors that we've built to come and speak. This, in brief, is about uh, the Let's Fix Our Food initiative. And as you know, this e-dialogue is focused on healthier oils for healthier India, reshaping dietary fats to prevent NCDs. That's the focus. We tried to put together a very beautiful and elite panel of speakers, practitioners, then people who are into food technology and lipid chemistry, and also we are trying to bring policy advocates, then regulatory voice, and also academic and research voices in this. Before I start this and welcome Dr. Bhanuprakash Reddy, our scientist G and head of biochemistry division in ICMR NIN, who's also the officiating director. As our director, Dr. Bharti Kulkarni, is on a official foreign tour. to welcome all of you. I just have some administrative announcements to make. I request all the speakers to keep their mics off when one speaker is online, and also I request all the participants who are there. Uh, a number of them I see, about 85, 90 of them have joined, and we're expecting many more. And media friends also would have joined. I request all of you to actually put in your questions and queries if they are targeted at any of the speakers or panelists specifically in the chat box or in the Q&A box. We will look into those, and then we will, depending on the time, we will ask these questions. For the panelists who want to make a quick interjection anytime or ask a question after the presentation, it would be preferable. After presentations, it would be preferable. Raising hand option can be used by the panelists. While it's a request for all the attendees to please post their questions in the chat box or in the Q&A section. These are the quick administrative announcements I had to make. Now it is my pleasure. I don't want to give much background into the non-communicable diseases and the linkages with the fats and the healthier fats, the options and the need for varieties of oils and fats that we need to use in our day-to-day life, and the sources that we have to get them from. But generally speaking, WHO has got specific guidelines to get contribution of about 30% of energy from fats, and saturated fats to be limited to less than 10%. And enhanced dietary guidelines also very specifically give that. Apart from recommending variety of oils to be used for visible fats, we also say oils can be, I mean, good fats can be, fatty acids can be sourced from legumes, then nuts, and other sources also. In this e-dialogue, we try to achieve few things: enhanced understanding to everyone on dietary guidelines and dietary fats, and then how they should be used; evidence-informed policy recommendations if we can come up with; and then practical guidance to support households for adopting better practices; and strengthening multi-stakeholder commitment again to promote healthier oils, especially in processed foods also, for bettering food environments. Thank you. I'm sorry I've taken a bit longer, but I had to make all these announcements. Now it's my pleasure to request Dr. Bhanu Prakash Reddy to please deliver the welcome address. But before that, my colleague Sanjana would introduce Dr. Bhanu to all of us.
Good morning, everyone. We are honored to introduce Dr. G. Bhanuprakash Reddy, sir, who is Scientist G and Head Biochemistry Division, ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition. Sir holds a PhD in biochemistry from Osmania University. Sir areas of expertise include molecular nutrition and public health nutrition, with a particular focus on non-communicable diseases. Sir had made significant contribution to scientific research with over 280 research papers of H-index 60 and more than 11,500 citations. Sir is a fellow of several eminent national and international academies, including the National Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Medical Sciences, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, the International Union of Nutritional Sciences, the Royal Society of Chemistry, London, and the Telangana Academy of Sciences. Sir currently serves as a Vice President of Nutrition Society of India and Vice President of Telangana Academy of Sciences. Sir is also a member of Food Safety Standards Authority of India, scientific panels, and various other scientific and advisory committees. Sir, we request you to deliver the welcome address. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sanjana, for that kind introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, good morning and welcome you all. My job is very simple. As Dr. Bharti, Director of the Institute, is out of the country. So on behalf of the Director of the Institute and of course on behalf of the entire NIN family, I welcome you all to this third e-dialogue series on healthier fats for healthier India. Of course, at the end of it, it is expected that this dialogue or the deliberations will
Sir,
NCDs that
So there is an issue with your audio.
Anything?
Yeah.
Subha?
There is an issue with your audio. Yeah. Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry for that hiccup. Just once again, good morning and welcome you all to this third e-dialogue series on healthier fats for a healthier India. As I was telling, I am here to welcome you all on behalf of the director and on behalf of the entire NN family for this e-dialogue series. As Dr. Subbarao already, elaborated and gave the overview of this, the entire exercise and the purpose of this, let us fix our food, which is a consortium led by ICMR, NIN, and the Public Health Foundation of India, UNICEF India, along with many other national, international partners such as WHO, Institute of Economic Growth, and Resolve to Save Lives, and many, many. I may not be able to list all of them here. So basically, this whole, the exercise, that is the let us fix our food, is uh, to enable kind of environment, particularly the create awareness amongst adolescents, to create a conducive food environment for children and adolescents in the country. The main focus of this Let's Fix Our Food initiative is on the participation of the youth and also making them to own the issues. I think that is one of the important aspects of this Let Us Fix Our Food exercises or mandate, so that they own the issues and they because it is a two-way dialogue platform. They will bring in the problems and issues to the forum, and then I think this forum is likely to address the issues. So, in other words, as Subbarao said, the adolescents or the youth are the ambassadors of this movement. Basically, it's a movement. So this initiative marks a significant step towards addressing the rising prevalence of overweight and obesity among Indian adolescents. And of course, now child obesity is a big problem, mainly by creating awareness about the healthy and unhealthy foods. Here, I would like to add a point in a lighter sense. Even those of us who are in the domain of nutrition research find it difficult to define what is a healthy food and what is an unhealthy food. I think that's where now we have a bigger challenge to educate the youth and particularly the adolescents who are marking the line between the healthy and unhealthy foods. And most of the time, even we get what we call misled by the processed foods, the definition of the processed foods. Definitely some level of processing is required, but to what level it is undesirable and what is the desirable processing is also very important. Anyway, that is the background of it. But now today's focus is on the consumption of HFSS foods, particularly the fats and oils, which are the good fats, which are the unhealthy fats. I think we have a galaxy of speakers in today's debate. And to begin with, I think Dr. D. Silva from WHO, Dr. or Professor Thakur from PGI Chandigarh, of course, our well-known expert and retired chief scientist from CSIR ICT, Dr. R.B.N. Prasad, who is well-known in the field of oils and fats and lipids, and my own colleague, Dr. Hamad, who heads the lipid chemistry in the institute. And then we also have Swati Bharadwaj from Resolve to Save Lives, and we have Dr. Usha Rani from CSIR, CFTRI, and then Dr. Kavita Ramaswamy from FSSI, and Dr. Sunita from MS Baroda. I think you have a galaxy of resource persons and speakers addressing the issue of healthier oils for the healthier India, and also coming up with some kind of recommendations or advice, hopefully which will result in a policy brief in this area. So just this is what I would like to convey as a welcome address on behalf of the director and on behalf of the institute. And once again, I wish this entire series is a success, and we will have some fruitful discussions, and particularly youth will get benefited, and they will also take part and own the issues and also carry forward the message that this galaxy of speakers are putting forward. Thank you, and welcome you once again.
Thank you, sir, for welcoming everyone on behalf of the institute and also giving us a brief background. My duty as per the schedule now is to give you a background of LFOF, which I have already done in my opening remarks. Without much ado and much more elaboration on that, I will just quickly say the structure is in such a way that we have four presentations and then we have a panel discussion. And the panel discussion, we tried to bring in, we are trying to bring in views from policy advocacy experts and technologists and regulatory perspective, as well as the academic and nutrition, public health nutrition perspective. And I request all the attendees to make the best use. You can post in your questions in the chat box or in the Q&A section. We will take those questions one after the other, as has been happening with the earlier series of Let's Fix Our Food, and now with Let's Fix Our Food New Life, with the New Life series, which we have tied up with RTSL, the Resolve to Save Lives organization, along with our existing partners, UNICEF India, Global Health Advocacy Incubator, IFPRI, and PHFI, and WHO, Lady Irwin College, and World Food Program, and others. We've produced a set of policy briefs which got released, as I said, last year, but they are still under a quick updation with the latest knowledge. And the e-dialogues that we are conducting as part of the New Life series will also be helpful in drafting uh, policy briefs related to these topics. We've already done with one of the e-dialogues, or two e-dialogues already with in the New Life series. Now it is on oils, and in future, very soon, we are trying to take up nutrition literacy and school food environments as a topic very soon. So this is about LFOF, and this is about the outline of this particular webinar. Now it's my pleasure to have the speakers quickly present their views on the topics allotted to them. The first speaker would be Dr. Padmini Angela De Silva from WHO regional WHO CRO. She's a regional advisor in nutrition. Thank you, Dr. Angela, for taking time out for this. And Dr. Angela would be speaking on health impacts of dietary fats and oils. But I request you to stop sharing screen for a while, because you need to be introduced by our group of people. So we'll have your introduction first. Thank you very much for joining us. And this, I'm sure her presentation will set tone on the evidence that we have about the health impacts of oils now. Sanjana, can you please introduce Dr. Angela for the benefit of the attendees?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can see the slide. You can put it in slideshow mode, else you can please go ahead.
We are pleased to introduce our first speaker for the day, Dr. Padmini Angela De Silva, Regional Advisor, WHO Regional Office for Southeast Asia. Ma'am has over 25 years of experience as a medical doctor and public health nutrition specialist. Ma'am provides technical guidance and policy advocacy across 11 countries in WHO Southeast Asian region. Ma'am key areas of expertise include infant and young child feeding, micronutrient deficiency prevention, obesity prevention, and the promotion of healthier food environments. Ma'am, we are looking forward for your valuable insights for the day. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Dr. Subbarao. Happy to join this discussion on New Life. Yeah. So my presentation today is going to take about 14 to 15 minutes. That's the time allocated. And I'll be talking about health impacts of dietary fats and oils and why it matters. So this is just very general knowledge. We all know that dietary fats are essential, are important. They serve a biological role in not only absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, but also in hormones, signaling, CNS functions, and so on. And we know that there's a classification of saturated, or a very broad classification of SFAs, unsaturated fatty acids, and trans fatty acids. And each of these have distinct metabolic and health effects. And as fats are studied more and more, we also know that the different types of fatty acids within the saturated fats or unsaturated fatty acids, and the way they are combined with the diet in the dietary patterns, gives rise to different metabolic effects in the body. And these are just being discovered as we go along. We also know that consumption of these fatty acids in excess does have a chronic disease risk in terms of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and all-cause mortality. Unsaturated fats we know improve lipid profiles and cardiometabolic health and is generally considered anti-inflammatory. If we take the diet, we understand it's very clear that plant, nut, and seed and fish oils are preferred to highly processed fats and oils from highly processed foods, and that if we reduce the amount of fat we take to a reasonable amount, there is no adverse effects. Essential fatty acid deficiency is real and it is present, but in certain particular groups, such as those with impaired immunity, premature infants, those with malnutrition, acute malnutrition, like severe acute malnutrition, and in those with malabsorption. Now, why are we so focused on fats? Because we know that edible oil consumption is growing across the whole globe, globally, and you can see this chart which shows a very rough idea of the global edible oil markets and the growing market. And you can see what one thing of concern, the saturated oil market is growing quite fast, as well as, of course, all the different types of oils. Now, this is due to urbanization. We consume a lot of processed and deep fried foods. The cooking practices have changed. There's a lot of out-of-home foods being consumed or ready-to-eat foods. Unhealthy fats are cheaper and available so that they dominate the household, restaurants, street food, cooking, catering services, wherever you go, because unhealthy fats are definitely cheaper. And there's a lot of oil use in processed and packaged foods and very often in street and restaurant foods, which are being consumed more and more by the population due to lifestyle changes. Now, if you take the burden of diet-related chronic diseases, the global, regional, and national burden of cardiovascular disease due to dietary risks it was published in Frontiers of Nutrition in 2025, looked at different types of unhealthy dietary factors, such as, diet, as in whole grains, polyunsaturated fats, nuts, and long chain fats, as well as reduction of red and processed meat. And what it found was that impact of healthy diet is high and it grows as we get older and older, both in terms of impact on dialysis as well as on cardiovascular diseases. And when we look at diet risk in India particularly, we know that NCDs are a leading cause of death, mostly from cardiovascular disease. So in this presentation, we are going to look at, in my presentation, I will be focusing on cardiovascular disease risk and fatty acids. The INDIAB study showed that projections for metabolic disease prevalence in India shows that hypertension is an issue, abdominal obesity is an issue, generalized obesity, dyslipidemia, dysglycemia, high LDL. So all these are have a risk factor, diet as a risk factor, and poor quality diets do contribute to all these different types of metabolic disease and metabolic profiles. So if we look at the same study that I referred to earlier, a diet low in polyunsaturated fatty acids attributes to at least 3.72 of total deaths in the global setting and 4.1 of total DALIs. But for South Asia, this is much higher, so that a diet low in polyunsaturated fats has a higher amount of global total deaths and high DALIs as opposed to the rest of the world. Again, this is also shown in the India studies, where we see that Indian diets have very high intakes of low quality carbohydrates and high levels of saturated fat. And there's another study that shows that consumption of oils by Indians has increased and almost doubled to the recommended amounts. So what is the evidence? So if we take saturated fats, we know that there are ill effects of saturated fats on cardiovascular disease and coronary heart disease. And this is the evidence that comes from randomized control trials and systematic reviews that show that lowering saturated fatty acids and limiting saturated fatty acids to less than 10% reduces cardiovascular disease risk and all-cause mortality and coronary heart disease. Replacing saturated fats with unsaturated fats or fiber-rich carbohydrates lowers LDL with reduced all-cause mortality and coronary heart disease risk, with additional benefits from polyunsaturated fats and plant-based foods. Replacing saturated fatty acids with animal protein but not plant protein is associated with the increased coronary heart disease risk. Similarly, in children, there are benefits of reducing saturated fatty acids to less than 10%, which have an effect on the total and LDL cholesterol, the diastolic blood pressure, and also on diastolic blood pressure. And there's no evidence of adverse effects of reduced saturated fatty acid intake to less than 10%. Now, if we take trans fatty acids, we are all very familiar with this. Lowering trans fatty acids will reduce LDL, reduce risk of all-cause mortality, cardiovascular diseases, and coronary heart disease. Limiting TFA to less than 1% is even of greater benefit. It reduces the same reduction, but very strong benefits. And that is the basis of the WHO guidance on trans fatty acids. Now, replacing trans fatty acids with unsaturated fatty acids or carbohydrates also lowers LDL and is associated with reduced all-cause mortality. And replacing trans fatty acids with carbohydrates and PUFA is also associated with reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. And I must say here that the grading of evidence goes from high certainty to low to moderate certainty, but there is proof and there is evidence that shows that we need to focus on these reduction of these fatty acid intakes. Now, so the WHO guidelines, based on those findings from the randomized controlled trials, gives the recommendations for saturated fatty acids that adults and children must reduce as saturated fatty acids to less than 10%, and a further reduction of saturated fatty acids to less than 10% is also of benefit. And replacement of saturated fats with polyunsaturated fats is given as a strong recommendation, and monounsaturated fats or carbohydrates from foods containing naturally occurring dietary fibers such as whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and pulses is also important. Same way for trans fatty acids, reduction of trans fatty acids for both adults and children, and it has benefits, and to replace with a diet high in polyunsaturated fatty acids or monounsaturated fats from plants. Now, all these recommendations must be taken in the context of other guidelines and other dietary aspects, such as focus on healthy diets, such as reduction of sugars, sodium, increased potassium intake through fruits and vegetables, and the good quality carbohydrates. Now, in addition, WHO has another guideline which is based on total fat intake for the prevention of unhealthy weight gain. And for adults, it is clear that reducing total fat intake reduces body weight, BMI, waist circumference, and percentage body fat, with greater reductions and intakes when the fat intake is less than 30%. There's no adverse effect of reduced fat intake, but for children, this evidence is not adequate, and we don't have a recommendation for children. The reduction of total fat intake recommendation is for adults. For children, we have the same recommendation here on the trans fatty acids, that no more than 1% of total energy intake should come from trans fatty acids. Now, this evidence is mirrored in the new ICMR guidelines, food-based dietary guidelines, and I'm sure somebody is going to discuss this, so I will not go into details. But what is important here is that we must consider there's visible fat and there's also invisible fat, and invisible fat does contribute a fair amount, significant amount to our diets in this part of the region, because we do tend to eat a large amount of, say, rice or some kind of rice and other types of grains. Now, the type of fats is very important, and the mix of fats or rotation of fats is very important. So that if you eat sunflower oil at one point, the other time you may want to change over to another different type of oil in order to get the correct balance of fatty acids. And here I also want to mention omega 3 and omega 6 and the importance of the ratio, though WHO does not really give a clear recommendation on that due to the lack of adequate evidence. Now, again, here processed foods are recommended to be minimized, and this is due to many reasons, not just the oil, but also because of sodium and sugars and so on. So basically, healthy oil use must be promoted and supported to reduce India's rising burden of NCDs at all levels. So there are upstream policy levers that can be used, and downstream, of course, it is important to have consumer awareness, knowledge, and behavior change. But to have this behavior change, the environment needs to be supported. So relatively healthy oils need to be made affordable. Regulatory actions are needed, like trans fatty acid regulations, labeling, in order to reduce the amount of harmful fats in the food supply. Scientific evidence on blending of different oils to get appropriate formulations is important. Taxation of certain types of harmful oils and fatty foods that are unhealthy are also important, as well as preventing reuse of oils. So, in conclusion, dietary fats are essential nutrients. They contribute to energy intake, growth, and development. And health impacts depend on the type of fat, not the total fat intake alone, and on the dietary pattern. And there's a strong evidence that fat quality does matter. High intakes of saturated fatty acids and trans fatty acids increase LDL and the risk of cardiovascular disease. And this is cause of mortality not only in India but across the region and globally as well. And replacement is important, and it improves blood lipid profiles and reduces the cardiovascular disease risk. So basically, improving the quality of dietary fats and oils has to be taken up as a key public health strategy contributing to reduce NCD risk, and there is no evidence of adverse effects of reducing this to a reasonable amount. Before I end my presentation, I just want to also mention another area that WHO is currently working on tropical oils and fats. This is in process because there's a lot of pushback from some countries on the fact that WHO's guidance on saturated fat does address the issue of palm oil and coconut oil, which are highly consumed and produced in the region. Therefore, WHO is looking at this as a separate topic. So I will end my presentation there, and thank you, and happy to take any questions and discuss in the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. Please stay with us for any questions that might come. I'm very happy to state that we have about 120 participants here, and then about 30 to 50, it is varying, online on YouTube. So we are welcoming questions both in this as well as on the YouTube live. So I will moderate the questions a little later after all the presentations. And then we will quickly go to the next presenter. You already have one or two questions, but we will take these questions after all the speakers are done. Dr. Angela, please stay with us before the panel discussion. Okay. And then you might even choose to answer them online if you can. Otherwise, we will take the questions for the benefit of everyone. Now we'll just shift gears. Thank you for setting tone and then telling us what's the global evidence, its association with CVDs and CHDs, fat consumption, and how SFS have to be kept below 10% of the total energy in a day and 30% from total fats, and then replacing saturated fats with PUFA and MUFA, how good it is and how beneficial it is. But thank you for mainly emphasizing on the importance of diversifying diet, including fiber-rich carbs as well as other varieties of foods that are required to get the best benefit. Now, I think we are shifting gears and moving towards more practical approaches of the roadmap for replacing trans fats. Trans fats have been a big issue, and Dr. Angela has already pointed, the use of SFAs and trans fats has been very high in the foods that we procure outside home, and convenience is one of the reasons why we procure foods from outside. But these foods have been constantly shown to have more of TFAs and SFAs. So that's the reason why we have this talk. And then Dr. Thakur has been spearheading this entire research and movement towards replacing trans fats with healthier oils in India. And before he starts his presentation, a quick introduction by my colleague, Dr. Archana.
Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to introduce Dr. J.S. Thakur. He's a professor at PGI Chandigarh. He also heads the Healthy Oil Consortium, a policy and advocacy think tank at PGI supported by Resolve to Save Lives. At the national and global levels, he has provided exemplary leadership. He has been an expert member, Mission Steering Group, National Health Mission at Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. He also is the founder president, World NCD Federation, the first Indian international professional association dedicated to advancing global NCD agenda. He also was the head non-communicable diseases and mental health WHO country office for India. Dr. Thakur's academic contributions are equally outstanding. He has published over 250 articles in national and international journals. He has an H index of approximately 60, and he is ranked among top 2 scientists globally by Stanford University. He has led more than 60 intramural and extramural projects funded by national and international agencies, significantly advancing public policy, research, and practice. In recognition of his exceptional contributions, he has been honored as the Fellow of National Academy of Medical Sciences, Indian Public Health Association, and Indian Association of Preventive and Social Medicine. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today, and we look forward to your talk on the roadmap for replacing trans fats with healthier oils in India. Thank you.
So, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Subbarao, for inviting to this important panel and all the panelists available here. So I'm sharing my presentation. So my slides are visible? Hello?
Yes, they are visible.
Now you can go ahead, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much. And I'll be speaking in this panel on roadmap for replacing trans fat with the healthy edible oil in India. And we are doing multiple activities, and I'm restricting to work related to trans fat and the healthy edible oil and consortium activity. So in my presentation, I'll discuss about review of healthy oil landscape in the country and a scoping study which we have done. And then formation of this healthy oil consortium. And the third phase is of a implementation research, which we are planning to implement in Punjab and Haryana state to develop the country's specific models. Now, coming to the objectives of this review and the scoping study, it was done to understand the oil and fat consumption pattern in India, to document its uses and identify feasible and effective policies for increasing the production of the healthier oil and elimination of the industrially produced trans fatty acid, and to collect the insight from the various stakeholders like farmer, oil processor, health experts, regulators, and the policy makers. It was a mixed method study. A scoping review was also carried out with the different stakeholders. And also we examined the implication of future agriculture policy to enhance the India's capacity to produce and trade healthier oil. And there were also in-depth interview with almost 40 stakeholders all over the country. Now, were the salient finding out of this study? Due to the population growth and rising income, the India oil consumption was growing at 6% per year, but its production only growing at the rate of 2%. We are mostly depending on import to meet the 57% of the demand, and palm oil alone is accounting for 59% of all imports. The conventional oil like mustard, groundnut, sesame, coconut are still widely used in certain regions, but industrial processing has made palm, soybean, sunflower oil more popular across the country. In North India, banaspati, which was first utilized as a vegetable ghee in 1960, is still commonly used as cooking fat for fried and baked goods. The bakery business uses almost 60% banaspati, 20% butter, and 10% specialty fats like margarine, shortening, and jam. So, if we see type of the oil, India is a vast country and people from different regions have different been using a particular type of oil, which is largely dependent on its availability. So you can see from this diagram that palm oil is constitute almost 40%, followed by soybean oil, 21%, rapeseed oil, 16%, peanut oil, 4%, right? So, and cottonseed also 5%, and there are some other oils also. And if we see the current trends, the, you know, this diagram shows the production of the oil seeds and also the domestic availability of oil. The production of oil seed is largely concentrated in only 5 states, that is MP, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Karnataka. Soybean, mustard, and groundnut account for 86% of the area cultivated and 91% of the oilseed production in the country. India processes only half of its rice bran oil, leaving a potential for a lot more which can be done. The government is promoting the production of oil palm in states like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Northeastern region, and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now, as far as the health impacts are concerned, I mean, there are large number of health impact, and my previous speaker has mentioned in detail. And it was mentioned that the palm oil may be consumed in limit along with the other oil. Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Indonesia are aggressively promoting palm oil. But in our country also, Ministry of Agriculture is also promoting aggressively the palm oil cultivation. Palm oil is cheaper than the unfiltered mustard oil and it poses a health risk, should be replaced with the healthier oil options. But India wanted to achieve self-sufficiency in the oil production, and the Ministry of Agriculture feel that palm oil is the only alternative, and the focus should be on other. The rotation of oil is recommended, but is hardly practiced at many places. And nutritional experts said that trans fat are the bigger devil than that of the saturated fat, because trans fat not only raises the LDL concentration but also lower the HDL concentration. Consumer awareness about oil is low, and we as a country and in our culture, street food is very common, which uses commonly the repeated heated oil. Frying and reuse of oil is quite common because of the economy at the household level. The RUCO initiative is functioning in the country by the FSI, but hardly implemented. We have done some studies in Chandigarh and the neighboring states. There is a lot which need to be done in this area. We have given some recommendations in this, national review. It was recommended that the government facilitate the small farmer to produce oil in small scale, allowing them to brand and sell their products. Implementing a procurement system for farmers along with offering better prices. MSP for oil seed is implemented in only few states, but is very poorly implemented. There is a need for direct communication between the different research institutions and farmers, which is not happening. There is poorly utilization of scientific paper and the research by the different institutions for the benefit of farmers. Our research is not reaching to the extent which it should have been to the farmers. And if a government want to self-sufficient and want to grow healthier oil, it must create an enabling environment for the farmers, because farmers, they are not comfortable in moving towards the oil seed production because of lack of MSP implementation. Although we have a network of Krishi Vigyan Kendras, and we are working for them with longer time, but the purpose of them was the extension education of the farmers, and I think they have to improve their functioning all over the country. And there is a need to revise the oil policies. More focus should be given on the healthier oil production. While our discussion with my discussion with the Joint Secretary Agriculture and Ministry, and who is looking after oil seed, he said, Dr. Saab, I am interested more in Atmanirbhar Bharat, in oil production, and I'm not bothered about the quality. So this is the thinking in our Ministry of Agriculture, which is the nodal ministry. And ministry stated improved variety of oil seed with high productivity are being made available, but there has to be education of the farmer to take them. And disease and drought resistant varieties and location specific technologies are being introduced, and ICMR system is working, ICAR system is working in that direction. Limited use of palm oil in the household is a positive trend, but this blending of oil is not being implemented effectively in the country, and there is no blending proportion mentioned in the brands. Oil producer and distributor recommended increasing consumer awareness, because that is very important. If consumers are aware, then they will demand the healthier options. And also this blended oil labeling is misleading, and many of the brands which are available in the market, they are not giving the information about the blending, and sometimes you are buying a good oil and ended up eating bad quality. Now, on the basis of this, we have a national stakeholder meeting in PGI Chandigarh, where all stakeholders were invited. And on 22nd February 2000, we launched the Healthy Oil Consortium, which is called SHIFT Consortium. And the objective of this is consensus building and the roadmap development for, transplant replacement, development and dissemination of the policy brief, stakeholder sensitization and workshop, and a couple of them have been organized all over the country. And in this SHIFT consortium, I'm happy to share that we have very high level of participation, including the Niti Aayog, the member agriculture, Mr. Dr. Ramesh Chand, who is also one of our member, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. Among the research institutions, we have NIN, IICT, CFTRI, IAMR, NIFTEM, PAU, and National Institute for Agriculture Economics and Policy Research. And we have also the industry representative. So we have done a couple of activities. The first meeting was with the agriculture institutions from all over the country. We have prepared the minutes and what are the things which should be come up. One of the key demands from the agriculture institutions and farmer organization is to have a MSP system for oilseed production to increase increase the oilseed cultivation in the country. There is hardly a market, and so farmers are going for the traditional things. The second meeting was with the industry stakeholder to promote indigenous and healthy edible oil. The industry view is that we do not have bigger problem of trans fat, but I think this is beyond the reality to understand, because the surveillance system in the country for trans fat is poor, and some of them are not being implemented, and we are not doing enough sampling from the street food which is available. Then the third Southern region meeting was organized at Hyderabad, where we discussed on the analytical method for estimation of trans fat in food and blood at ICAR, Indian Institute of Oil Research at Hyderabad, where all key stakeholder institutions like NIN, CFTRI, and many other institutions. They participated. There are different testing which is being used in the country. So we have developed now the SOPs and to have a uniform system of this. And we are now having a regional meeting of Northeast region covering all the 7 states of Northeast at Shillong on 17th of February. Now, we also
Sir,
want to,
we have
this is,
about
I think,
1 or 2 minutes to conclude.
yes, I have only 1 or 2 slides only. As a phase 3, we are focusing on implementation research, and we have chosen Punjab and Chandigarh to implement. Punjab being a agricultural wall of the country, but still rice and wheat cycle is there, and very few production of oil seed. So, and also we will be working with you know, there is one brand which is quite popular, Dalda used to make, and Gagan brand, and you might have seen the advertising, Khao Gagan, Raho Magan, right? And also we will be doing, exploring the knowledge, attitude, cooking oil practices, and compliance with the regulation in these 2 states. We have prepared some IC material. There is a calendar which we have published with the message every month, different messages about the trans fats. So this is available for circulation, and if somebody is interested, we will be happy to provide. We have also prepared the posters on trans fat. And with the paucity of time, I may not be able, but we are the only institution which has conducted statewide studies on Punjab and Haryana on dyslipidemia. And these are the only 2 states which has state representative data. So hypertriglyceridemia is our major problem before, and hypercholesteremia. And so we also need to know that what is the dyslipidemia pattern, and we have a lot of publication on this, and we will be happy to share with on demand. And I think I'll stop here. We'll appreciate any question, and we'll be happy to answer at the end of this session. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for bringing out the scenario in India and then how India imports oils, and the oils that we import are all majorly related to palm oil, which goes into a lot of processed food industry, as well as the usage of various kinds of edible oils in the street by the street food vendors in the restaurants, which is very difficult to actually regulate. That has been one. And of course, there is a lot of issues that you brought about related to blending of oils. And then there are, being in the labeling panel of FSSA, I understand how difficult it is to actually have blended oils allowed, because there is always a possibility of blending of oils taken as a precept for actually adulterating oils. So FSSA has its own norms of how much oil can be blended into the others, and then these are specified. And then when any oil is blended, it has to be mentioned. Of course, compliance issues sometimes do crop up. But FSSA, I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of FSSA. We in the labeling panel also tread a very careful path in terms of uh, allowing labeling regulations for blending of oils. Nevertheless, the very important point that you brought about is related to agriculture, and how the researchers of agriculture and nutrition and clinical studies should work together, and then whatever is worked should again go back to the farmer with appropriate enabling environment to produce oil seeds. These are very important takeaways. Probably I'll list some of them in my 5 key takeaways towards the end. Please stay with us. There are some questions already for you in the Q&A section, sir. If you can answer them straight, it would be good. The rest I will also take interesting ones online for the benefit of the others. Now we'll move to the next presentation. Next presentation is by Dr. RBN Prasad. Deliberately, we asked him to speak on innovations in edible oil processing, because this is one area that is little fudgy for many of the people. Processing of oils refining of oils, whether it is really good or bad, what it does to the edible oil quality, what happens to all the nutrients that are removed. Is kachi ghani tel better? Is what kind of oil is better? But while processing, what are the safety and nutrition safety measures that are taken, and how the nutritional quality of fats and oils can be safeguarded? This is the outline I am hoping his talk would present. He would be introduced first by our colleague, Ms. Ishani.
It is a privilege to welcome Dr. RBN Prasad, former Chief Scientist and Head, Center for Lipids Research, CSIR, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. With a research career spanning nearly 4 decades focused on edible oil processing, oleochemicals, and nutraceuticals, Dr. RBN Prasad has made seminal contributions to lipid science in India and globally. He has published 275 original research papers, 22 book chapters, and contributed to 70 Indian and international patents, enabled several technology transfers to industry, and played a pivotal role in establishing IICT's state-of-the-art lipid research facilities. He currently serves as a member of the WHO Trans Fat Elimination Technical Advisory Group. His distinguished leadership roles include serving as National President of the Association of Food Scientists and Technologists India, the Oil Technologists Association of India, Chairperson of the Scientific Panel on Oils and Fats, and member of the Scientific Committee of the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. In addition, he has contributed his expertise to numerous national expert committees of CSIR, BIRAC, DBT, DST, and BIS, shaping research, innovation, and regulatory frameworks in the food and nutrition sector. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the kind introduction. Also, thank Dr. Subbarao for inviting me to make this presentation. Can you please open my presentation?
It's on, sir. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Good morning to everyone once again. So I'm going to speak in the next 10 minutes on the innovations in edible oil processing, optimizing the quality, safety, and nutrition. Next slide, please. Can you please go to next slide? Yeah, basically, when you want to really define a healthy oil, how to define? See, first and foremost thing is quality, safety, and nutritional value. They are very, very important parameters. But how to achieve these parameters? Basically, proper optimization of processing conditions of seed and also feedstock. In some of the cases, it's not seed. For example, rice bran, like olive is a fruit and palm oil is a fruit. So processing and also oil extraction and refining, they are very, very important and crucial. Next slide, please. See, basically key drivers of innovation is first and foremost thing is consumer demand for healthier oils, need for oxidative stability and shelf life, because most of the oils, they are polyunsaturated rich. The stability is very, very important thing, and sustainability and environmental considerations and regulatory pressure day to day and related to quality parameters and toxicants. Next slide, please. See, when you look at the FSSAI standards, there are two types of standards. One is vertical, all quality parameters, and horizontal, these are all safety parameters, particularly additives, pesticides, contaminants, toxins, residues, microbial factors, labeling, like that. Next slide, please. See, when it comes to quality parameters, these are vertical standards. So these are the most important parameters. Every oil has its own individual vertical parameter. Say, for example, acid value. When quality deteriorates, the acid value increases. Like when the hydrolysis occurs in the triglyceride, by chance, if contains moisture or lipase during the process, free fatty acid generates. It indicates the freshness. If it less free fatty acid, it indicates the freshness and storage quantity. If FFA is more, so naturally the oil gets deteriorated. Like peroxide value, it's a primary oxidation product. So early stage rancidity detection. Like peroxide value, it's a secondary oxidation. It detects the advanced rancidity and off flavor. And TOTAX value is a total oxidation load, overall oxidative stability. And smoke point, it talks about the stability for frying. If less smoke point is less, it will be good for the frying purpose. Like total polar compounds, polymerized and oxidized, and also what you call like polar components like monoglyceride, diglyceride. If they have free fatty acid, the total polar components increases. Say, for example, FSA, what you call the regulation is the oil should not have, a fresh oil should not have not more than 15% polar material. When you are really frying, the moment it reaches 25, you need to really stop frying. That oil you should throw out. Like sensory attributes are very, very important, like flavor, odor, clarity, consumer acceptability, because there's no FSA guideline for it, but it's a consumer accept. Based on consumer acceptability, the company can really what you call sell the sample. Next slide, please. So moisture and volatiles, when it contains more water, the shelf life and hydraulic stability get disturbed, and specific gravity, refractive index, iodine values, saponification value, these are all routine values, but they are also equally important for the detection of the particular oil. So they must really conform to that particular all these values, so that we can really comment that it does not contain any irritation. Like unsaponified matter is other than glycerides and esters present in the oil. Mostly this value indicates the micronutrient components. Next slide, please. See, and in addition to all these parameters, fatty acid composition is very, very important. FSSAI and Codex, the standard that specifies ranges of saturated, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acids. They are in the ranges. So whenever we really analyze the oil, it should really match with that particular range. All the oils and some of the saturated fat already the Thakur saw, and the initial lecture we have Angela Madam said the saturated fatty acid rich oils are coconut, palm oil, and palm kernel oil. Mufa rich oils are olive oil, high oleic sunflower and mustard oil, canola or rapeseed oil. Mufa and pufa and saturated fatty acid, little bit of balance contains in groundnut oil, rice bran oil, and sesame oil. And pufa rich oils are sunflower oil, safflower, soybean, cottonseed, corn oil. And pufa omega-3 rich oils are flaxseed and chia seed oils. Omega-3 containing oils 7 to 10%, only 3 oils, that is soybean, mustard, canola. Next slide, please. So safety, the next part is safety. Safety of the edible oils, chemical safety, particularly by controlling the oxidation products. We have to track the PV, AV, and Totax oil, and we have to limit the FFA to avoid contaminants, and also a lot of chemical contaminants may be there during the harvesting, like pesticides, heavy metals, PAH, and newly introduced toxins are MCPD and GE, and also, of course, trans fatty acid. Physical safety to ensure the absence of sediments, insoluble matter, and moisture. Biological safety is to prevent the aflatoxin and other microbial residues through proper seed storage and refining. Thermal safety to avoid overheating and repeated frying, to limit the trans fat, MCPD, GE, polar material, polymers, and aldehydes. Nutrition safety to preserve the antioxidants and maintain the balanced fatty acid profile. And regulatory compliance, of course, always the pressure is to meet the FSA, Codex, ISO, etc. The limits for physicochemical and parameters and contaminants. Safe usage to avoid reusing fry oil and store away from heat and light. Choose stable oils for high temperature cooking. Next slide, please. See, coming to nutrition, we talked about quality and safety and nutrition. Nutrition is basically every oil contains, in addition to the omega-6, omega-3, nutritionally important essential fatty acids. So every oil, it contains some nutraceutical, like plant sterols, it contains in all oils, tocopherols in all oils, tocotrienols, palm and rice bran oil, carotene in red palm oil, oryzanol only in rice bran oil, sesame, sesamoline, and sesamol in sesame oil. And in olive oil contains hydroxy tyrosol, phenolic acid, like some of the very good antioxidants olive oil contains. See, basically the vegetable, in addition to the fatty acid profile, these nutrients sometimes they dictate the goodness of the oil. Say, for example, rice bran oil contains oryzanol, tocotrienols. So it's one of the very, very rich. Like sesame oil is a very, very stable oil because it contains a lot of antioxidants. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
So 1 second, it's not moving. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, with this background, the major factors affecting the quality of the edible oils is pre-processed and growing seasons, temperature, moisture, and sunlight, and soil fertility and nutrients, and post-harvest storage conditions, temperature, moisture, etc. And post-process factors, heat, particularly thermal degradation from pressing and cooking, and moisture, hydrolysis from contact with water and pressing and cooking and storage, air contact, oxidation from contact with air during pressing and cooking and storage. Next slide, please. See, there are several processing of steps are there for vegetable oil, from the starting from the seed preparation, extraction of the oil, filtration, degumming, chemical neutralization, bleaching, dewaxing, dewaterization, deacidification, winterization, and particularly this refining, they remove the impurities which adversely affect the flavor, odor, and appearance of oil. Basically, starting from degumming, neutralization, bleaching, dewaxing, dewaterization, or deacidification, these are part of the refining process. Next slide, please. So basically, one thing always people really think that no, only cold pressed oil is good, kachi gani oil is good, virgin oil is good, or refined oil is good. But thing is, all these nomenclatures are approved by FSSAI and with the appropriate specifications. Even though some quality parameters varies, all these oils and fats are safe, and particularly quality parameters are almost same. See, so that only one thing is one must really make sure that these oils and fats are selling FSSAI license number and also conforming to the standards prescribed by FSSAI. Because several people nowadays know under the name of the cold pressed oil in a very small scale, they are making and they're selling even without FSSAI notification. One has to be very, very careful with that type of what you call market samples. Next slide, please. So in the extraction innovations now, particularly cold pressing, previously generally expelled oil, they really use something like 95 to 100 degree, 105 degrees centigrade. Now the cold pressing is very, very established, what you call methodology. Less than 45 degrees, people are extracting oil. But only thing is the yields will be low. That is the reason the cost will be more. And also supercritical, even though it's very good, it's a long way to go. Enzyme extraction also, particularly when you use cellulose protease like that, people started using in a small way, but it's a long way to go. This really provides maximum yield from the seed. And similarly, membrane-based extraction also is a long way to go. This is a new thinking. And all the time, nitrogen blanketing, it prevents the oxidation during processing. Several people, they started using nitrogen blanketing now. In a similar manner, cryogenic grinding of oilseed reduces heat-induced nutrient loss. Even though it's little expensive now, in long way, it's a very good methodology. Next slide, please. See, there are a couple of slides I'll complete. What are the possible innovations in edible oil processing for optimizing the quality, safety, and nutrition? First and foremost thing is seed quality and tree processing. See, the moisture, it has to be really limited. Otherwise, it increases the FFA. And storage temperature is very, very important. If you don't store properly the seeds also, the color and oxidation will increase. Like mechanical damage of the seeds also, it increases the acidity. While cooking and conditioning, the temperature is very, very important, 90 to 100 to 105 degrees, the traditional expelling. And of course, now the cold pressed oil is coming less than 45 degrees. And residence time must be minimum, moisture also must be minimum. While oil extraction, pressing temperature, it really dictates the FFA and color. That we have to be very careful. Solvent purity, when we are using hexane, the contaminants to oil is particularly hydrocarbons, we have to be very, very careful. Degumming is very, very most crucial thing for oil refining and for the removal of the phospholipids. So now the most recent addition to the degumming is enzymatic degumming. Today, rice bran oil is being processed with enzymes. Almost 85% of the oil, whatever we are producing using our IACD technology, that's one of the wonderful technology. And particularly, it's low temperature. We can remove the phospholipids and also yields will be more. And while doing the neutralization, particularly removal of FFA, still people are practicing for sunflower and soybean oil and also the cottonseed oil. The caustic concentration, temperature, reaction time, these are all what matters like anything, particularly when you use excess alkali, refining loss will be more. Not only that, like antioxidant like chloroquine also, they will be removed. During bleaching, it removes pigments and peroxides. So bleaching depth carbon dosage is very, very important. Vacuum and temperature, very, very crucial. And nowadays, the most modern bleaching units are coming now, like dewaterization also to remove the free fatty acid and also short chain oxidative products. This is very, very crucial, particularly Thakur Sir was telling about trans fat generation, because if they don't maintain properly the dewaterization, deacidification, the trans fat increases like anything. But one good thing is in India, we really what to call reach a stage that most of the oil, 95% of the oils which are being produced using refining, they are less than 1% trans fatty acid. They're mostly they're conferring to less than 2% oil. And another most dangerous thing is if they are not really careful, the formation of, in addition to trans fat, MCPTGE also the formation, and it may really what will happen during this particular step. That is the reason most important thing. Several people now, several manufacturers of the deodorization units, they're concentrating on these 3 points like trans fat, MCPTGE, and in India, I think most of the motor units they are really good. Next slide, please.
Sir, about a minute or two. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm completing another 1 minute. See, storage and packaging is very, very important nowadays. Very modern packaging systems are coming and to prevent the photo oxidation. And also nitrogen blanketing, already I told. And nowadays people started doing even inline antioxidant monitoring also. And also enhancing the oxidative stability, addition of natural antioxidants like tocopherols and polyphenols. It really helps. And nutritional improvements like omega-3, omega-6 balancing is very important. And that's now newer healthy oils in the coming decade. I think a lot of innovations are going to come in this particular area. And fortification already we are doing with vitamin A and D, and fortification bioactive compounds also. I think people may going to start now. And a healthy and safety consideration, minimizing the contaminants is very, very important now. Next slide, please. See, final key takeaway is need for the integrated and science-driven approaches and innovative, gentle and oxygen-controlled processing and preserves the antioxidant, fatty acid, and micronutrients. While processing, we need to take care not only the fatty acid, particularly polyunsaturated fatty acid, they may get oxidized, and also nutrients may loss. And most important thing is enhancing the yield without sacrificing with the quality. These things are very important. I think India, in most of the modern industries, they are really working very seriously, and they're producing very high quality oil. And but long way to go in as a whole. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you. I know it deserved a little more time to understand all the processing techniques, but we are running short of time. And then there are several questions in the Q&A. I will take some of these questions and thank you. Some of the questions are being answered by panelists online. RBN sir, you can also try and answer some questions in the Q&A box directly. You have access, and the unanswered ones I'll take up. We will move to the next presenter. My colleague, Dr. Ahmed Ibrahim, has been part of the dietary guidelines formulation group of NIN. And then he also is now talking about the dietary fat requirements and opportunities in NCD prevention. I request him to speak, but before that, he'll be introduced by my colleague Ishani.
It is an honor to introduce Dr. Ahmed Ibrahim, Scientist G and Head, Lipid Chemistry Division, ICMR National Institute of Nutrition. Dr. Ibrahim is a leading expert on dietary fats and oils with a strong focus on fat quality, optimal fat requirements, and prevention of diet-related chronic diseases. Dr. Ibrahim has played a key role in shaping India's food and nutrition policies, serving on several expert committees of FSSAI, BIS, and ICMR, including on trans fat regulation. He has published 68 peer-reviewed research papers and is a recipient of the ISS-FAL New Investigator Award. He has contributed to major national guidelines, including RDA 2020, Dietary Guidelines for Indians 2024, and currently serves on the Type 2 Diabetes Guideline Development Group of the Government of India. Welcome, sir.
I'm audible?
You are audible. Can you please share your slides?
I already sent the slides.
1 minute.
What should I share?
You can share. You can share from your end.
It's okay?
Yeah, slideshow mode, please.
So I'm going to talk about the health aspect of dietary fats and oils. So let me start with the slides, please. Next slide, please.
You have to move. You have to move. You are sharing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are able to see. Please go on.
1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, so let me start with the diet and heart hypothesis, which was proposed by Ansel Key in 1970. So that time the total fat was considered important risk factor for coronary heart disease. The dietary fat, total fat increases the total cholesterol and thereby increases the coronary heart disease. Over the period of time, this was refined and the saturated fats were considered to be hypercholesteremic and increases the risk, whereas polyunsaturated fatty acids are protective. Current understanding is focused on the foods and dietary patterns. Apart from the LDL, the other lipid parameters like HDL cholesterol, non-HDL cholesterol to HDL ratio, triglyceride, and more importantly, the LDL size is also very important. I will talk about in the next slide. Apart from the, there are also non-lipid factors like blood pressure, thrombosis, and then endothelial function also plays an important role in the coronary heart disease. So this I think Dr. Thakur was mentioning about the atherogenic dyslipidemia, which is widely prevalent in Indian scenario because our triglyceride levels are very high. So when the triglyceride levels goes up, the HDL and LDL undergo extensive modification. Instead of carrying cholesterol and they carry more of triglycerides. So the HDL level goes down and then the LDL is converted into a particular variant called small dense LDL. This small dense LDL is highly atherogenic in nature. And this is commonly observed in diabetes and those with metabolic syndrome. Those who are having this atherogenic dyslipidemia are threefold increase the risk of CHD. And similar levels of the LDL cholesterol, the small dense LDLs are more atherogenic than the conventional one, which is larger in size. Okay, so this already Prasad has mentioned about that. All vegetable oils and fats consist of two fractions, namely the glyceride fraction, which is made up of fatty acids. Apart from that, the vegetable oils and fats also contain non-glyceride compounds or unsupportable fraction, which varies from 1% to 5%, which contains several bioactive compounds like tocopherols, gamma-arginol, lignans, phytosterol, etc. So each vegetable oil has unique minor components present in the non-glyceride fraction. Most of the vegetable oils present the tocopherols in non-glyceride fraction, which are potent antioxidant. Apart from that, some of the vegetable oils contain unique components like palm and rice bran oil. These are the only two oils contains tocotrienols. These tocotrienols are excellent antioxidant. Its antioxidant activity is 10 times higher than the tocopherol. So apart from the antioxidant activity, these tocotrienols also hypoglycemic effect, also have neuroprotective effect. Of course, all the vegetable oils contain phytosterols, which is the having hypoglycemic effect. So apart from that, gamma-arginol, which is present in the rice bran oil, which is also hypoglycemic in addition to the antioxidant. So this is about the fatty acid composition. This already I mentioned. I am not going to detail. Only thing I wanted to mention about the saturated fats. We know that coconut oil, ghee, vanaspati is rich in saturated fatty acid. Now this palm kernel oil and palm stearin are also included in the list because earlier the palm kernel oil and palm stearin were going to the soap industry because at the time of trans fat regulations we have made an important decision to remove the melting point of the vanaspati, which is about 45 degrees. So the palm kernel oil, palm stearin, earlier it was non-edible, now it is also considered the edible oil, and most of these food industries uses palm kernel oil and palm stearin as the alternative to the trans fats. Of course, with respect to N6-PUFA, you have low palm olein, which contains both saturated and unsaturated fatty acids in equal proportions, and olive oil, which contains more of the monounsaturated fatty acids, and medium N6-PUFA, you have monotype rice bran oil, and high N6-PUFA, you have sunflower oil, safflower oil, sesame oil, corn seed oil, and alpha-linoleic acid, which is the precursor of omega-3 fatty acids, which is present in very limited number of oils like mustard oil, rapeseed oil, soybean, and canola oil. So this is how the individual fatty acids alters the total mortality. So for increment increase in intake of particular fatty acids, how the mortality changes. Now we know that the trans fats, even at a very small intake, increases the mortality rate, followed by saturated fatty acids. So, and monounsaturated fatty acids, polyunsaturated fatty acids have protective effect. This suggests that the trans fatty acids are more harmful than the saturated fatty acids and needs to be eliminated. And these are the well-known clinical trials about the quality versus the quantity of dietary fats on CHD risk. Some of them are secondary prevention trial. The first one is called DOT, that is diet and reinfection study, which is by recruiting 150 patients with myocardial infarction, reducing the saturated total fat marginally reduces the CHD incident. When you substitute the saturated fatty acid with the unsaturated fatty acids, reduces the CHD risk drastically. Most important thing is the the diet art study, which is a Mediterranean diet. This Mediterranean diet, they are all high fat diet because the fat intake varies from 35 to 40%. Although they are rich in fat, but the quality of fat is important. They use mainly of olive oil, which is containing more of oleic acid, and which reduces the CHD risk by more than 73%. So now we know that the type of saturated fatty acid also influences the cholesterol metabolism. Among these saturated fatty acids, the myristic acid is the hypocholesemic effect of myristic acid is highest, followed by palmitic acid and lauric acid. And stearic acid, which is 18 carbon atom, which is neutral, because the stearic acid can be metabolized in our body to oleic acid by the enzyme called stearyl-CoA desaturase. Okay, so this is the meta-analysis of several clinical trials on the impact of replacing the saturated fatty acids with polyunsaturated fatty acids, and we have very strong and convincing evidence to show that replacement of saturated fats with PFA, but not with carbohydrate or protein, reduces the LDL cholesterol, thereby reduces the CHD risk. So coming to the dairy products, the dairy products also rich in saturated fats, and about 50 to 60% of the fatty acids are saturated fats. But still, we don't have clear evidence about whether the consuming the dairy fats are good or bad. Recent cohort study have shown that replacement of animal fats, including the dairy fat, with PUFA reduces the CHD risk. But only the information which we got is about the cheese. Cheese also contains, apart from saturated fat, it also contains, it's a fermented product, also contains probiotics. So which is associated with reduced risk. So, but current dietary recommendations all suggest to consume low-fat dairy products. And these are some of the nutrient-dense food items. Although it contains saturated fatty acids, also have beneficial effect. The egg also contains substantial amount of saturated fats. Each egg contains about 3 grams of saturated fat. Apart from that, it also contains high quality protein, vitamin D, riboflavin, lutein, astaxanthin, and choline. RCT studies have shown that 2 eggs per day has beneficial effects on CVD and improve the glycemic control in type 2 diabetes. The other one is dark chocolate. Dark chocolate also contains significant amount of saturated fat, but the type of saturated fat is different. They contains more of stearic acid. Stearic acid is neutral towards the lipoprotein metabolism, that is cholesterol metabolism. Apart from SOA, the dark chocolate also rich in iron, magnesium, potassium, and phosphorus. The studies have shown that the dark chocolate consumption reduces the CVD markers. The other one is cheese. As I mentioned earlier, the cheese also contains significant amount of saturated fatty acids. Apart from that, it also contains other bioactive fatty acids like conjugated linoleic acid, phytinic acid, trans-palmitoleic acid, and protein and calcium. So several meta-analyses have clearly shows that cheese consumption reduces the CHD risk. The meat also contains high levels of saturated fatty acids, but also provide the good quality protein and bioavailable iron and minerals and vitamins. The RCT meta-analysis of the RCT clearly shows that meat intake of less than 0.5 servings per day does not increase the CVD risk. So MUFA has several protective effects, cardiovascular protective effect. The best example is the Mediterranean population who consume the olive oil, which is high in oleic acid, is the primary source of fatty acids. Olive oil contains about 75% of the monounsaturated fatty acids, and the monounsaturated fatty acid reduces the postprandial lipemia, also reduces the triglyceride levels, and also anti-thrombotic effect by reducing the factor 7A and factor 7A and 7C, and also increase the fat oxidation. So it prevents the fat accumulation in the body. And one more important function of the MUFA is it shifts the small dense LDL, which is more atherogenic to the larger point LDL. Coming to the trans fatty acids, there are a lot of confusion is going on in the trans fats. The most important is the source. So now there are 2 different sources of the trans fatty acids in our diet. The partially hydrogenated vegetable oil or vanaspati is the major source. Apart from that, the ruminant fat, that is because some amount of trans fats are also formed in the ruminant gut due to the metabolism of the PUFA by the bacterial transformation, and ruminant fats also contain small amount of trans fat, but these are all natural trans fatty acids. And the partially hydrogenated vegetable oils are also called industrially produced trans fatty acids, and the lactic acid, which is the major isomer of the industrially produced trans fatty acids, it varies from 80 to 90%. Apart from the 2 sources, the thermal treatment of the vegetable oils like refining and heating of the vegetable oils also generates some amount of trans fats, but the type of isomer is entirely different. It is, we get more of 18:2 and 18:3 trans fats, and we don't know about the health effects of these 18:2, 18:3 trans fats. So coming to the regulation, so now we have very clear scientific evidence to show that the industrially produced trans fatty acids are harmful, not the ruminant trans fatty acid. So that has to be eliminated, and the WHO has initiated the replace program in 2018, and then I think Prasad was part of the study to eliminate the ITFA from the global food supply by 2023. And as far as India is concerned, now we are the trans fat cutoff is 2% of 2% vegetable oils and fat, which is in alignment with the WHO best practice. Okay, this coming to the PUFA, the polyunsaturated fatty acids are metabolized into long-chain products, namely the arachidonic acid, which is the long-chain metabolite of linoleic acid, and the EPA and DHA, which is the long-chain product of the alpha-linoleic acid. The most important thing is the enzymes are common to both the fatty acids. So there will be always competition between these two fatty acids, and when you take excess of particular fatty acid, it will lose the beneficial effect of other fatty acids. For example, if your N6-PUFA intake is high, means it will lose the beneficial effect of the omega-3 or N3 fatty acids. And EPA and DHA is present in the fish oil. Okay, this is how the long chain products are metabolized in our body. Arachidonic acid, which is the long chain product of N6-PUFA, is further metabolized into icosanoids such as 2 series of prostaglandin and 4 series of glycoproteins. They are mainly of pro-inflammatory nature. They promote the inflammation. Whereas the icosanoids, which are formed from EPA, is less pro-inflammatory. That is, the 3 series of prostaglandin and 5 series of glycoproteins, they are less pro-inflammatory. And more recent studies have shown that the long-chain N3-PUFA gives rise to new generation anti-inflammatory molecules like protectin and resolvins. Their main function is to resolve the inflammation.
Dr. Ahmed, 2 more minutes.
Just give me 5 minutes, okay? So this is what happens when we take excess of N6-PUFA. So when there is an imbalance in the intake of N6 and N3-PUFA, high intake of N6-PUFA increases the inflammatory, pro-inflammatory milieu, which causes several chronic diseases, diet-related chronic diseases. So coming to the beneficial effect of long-chain N3-PUFA, long-chain N3-PUFA, that is EPA and DHA, has several beneficial effects. The first one is it improves the lipoprotein profile, it decreases the triglyceride levels. Apart from that, it also reduces the formation of small dense LDL and marginally increases the LDL cholesterol, and it also improves the endothelial function, decreases the blood pressure and the clotting factors, and it is anti-inflammatory. It also stabilizes the atherosclerotic plate, and it also anti-arrhythmic. So this is about the current LC N3-PUFA recommendations. For primary prevention, 250 milligrams to 500 milligrams per day of EPA and DHA is recommended, and 2 servings of the oily fish such as salmon, mackerel, tuna, and herring and shad, which contains sufficient amount of EPA and DHA. And fish also, apart from the omega-3 fatty acids, fish also provide sufficient amount of vitamin D3, selenium, and protein. The selenium is having several cardiovascular beneficial effect. Apart from anti-oxidant effect, it is antithrombotic, reduces the myocardial infarct size, ischemia-induced ventricular arrhythmias, and improves the recovery from ischemia-induced injury. And for secondary prevention, 1 gram per day of EPA DHA is recommended, and for management of hypertriglyceridemia, 4 grams per day is recommended. Okay, so the dietary fat intake, current recommendation. This is about this is from the WHO recommendation, and the total fat intake should be 30% of the total calories to prevent the unhealthy weight decline. This is a conditional recommendation because we don't have some strong evidence to show that reducing the fat is beneficial, because some of the low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet, although reduces the weight, but also increases the blood sugar and the insulin levels. So that is why it is a conditional recommendation, and minimum of 20% of the total calories is required to ensure adequate intake of energy, essential fatty acids, and fat-soluble vitamins. And diet should provide more of unsaturated fatty acids, that is MUFA and PUFA, and saturated fatty acids should be limited to 10% of total calories, which is about 22 grams per day per person for 2000 calorie diet, and trans fat fatty acids should be less than 1% of total calories, which is about 2.2 grams per day per person for 2000 calorie diet, which is a strong recommendation. So this is about the visible fat recommendations. Our diet is mainly of a cereal pulse based diet. So 50% of our dietary fat, total fat comes from the fat which is associated with the dietary ingredients, which is called invisible fat. So considering that the visible fat requirement for the various group is ranges from 20 to 50 grams per day per person, and woman, the pregnant woman, lactating woman, and young children and adults and boys and girls require little more of visible fat. So coming to the key messages, the minimum visible fat intake for Indian is, that is vegetable oil, butter, ghee, vanaspati, should range between 20 to 50 grams per day. And since each vegetable oil has unique fatty acid composition, single vegetable oil does not ensure optimal intake of fatty acid and the balance of N6 and N3. Hence, we recommend use 2 or more vegetable oils for optimal health benefits. By selecting 2 or more vegetable oils, not only the fat, the fat acid balance maintained, but also one would get the benefit of the minor components like tocopherols, tocotrienols, gum-marginol, which varies from oils to oils, and some of them are hypocholesteric carbohydrate. A non-vegetarian should prefer non-fried oily fish, that is 200 grams of salmon, sardines, etc. And vegetarians have only option is to consume regularly oil-rich foods, the N3-rich foods containing like pure millet, pulses, green leafy vegetables, fenugreek, flaxseed, chia seed, mustard seed, pistachio, and walnut to improve the omega-3 nutrition status. Avoid using vanaspati as the cooking medium, and butter, ghee consumption should be kept to minimum, and avoid consuming ultra-processed foods which contains high levels of sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats, that is saturated and trans fats. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. You can stop sharing now.
Yeah.
And also, if you can just turn off your mic for a while. This has been a very, very interesting session. Please stop sharing screen. Okay, while he stops sharing screen and mutes himself, this has been an excellent. Can you mute your mic, please? This is an excellent session, and then the kind of questions that we are getting in the Q&A and also on YouTube channel are many, and we thank our panelists for patiently answering them on Q&A section. Please, everybody can go to Q&A section and get to see answers. But some of the questions are still there. I will take about 3 or 4 questions before we move to the panel discussion. And then after panel discussion, we will take few more. We are already running 15 minutes late. So I will just quickly take 1 or 2 questions from this. One of the Q&A questions is about the FSSAI should monitor oil, repeated reuse of oil. All the speakers have said repeated reuse of oils is a very big thing. And then it is also suggested that TPC test strips are available for quick on-site checks. Many of the speakers have already said the repeated reuse of oils goes unnoticed when it comes to restaurants, street foods, or maybe bakeries and others, even at homes. So is it a good thing to use these test strips and use lab testing if required? And there are also some technologies which claim that they purify oil, reused oil. Is it true? I will ask this question to Dr. Ahmed and then to Dr. RBN.
Yeah, can I answer this question?
Yes, please.
So when what happens when we heat the vegetable oils, the PUFA degrades and then converted into polar compounds. See, these polar compounds are toxic to body and they are even carcinogenic. So we have a upper limit for the total polar compounds. Once the total polar compounds exceed 25% of the weight, the oil should be discarded. It is unfit for the reuse. So as per the current recommendation, we always recommend to one heat. Once the oil is heated, it can be used for seasoning purpose. It should not be reused, and then it should be used immediately. It should not be stored it for a long time.
Thank you. That is very important. And Dr. RBN Prasad, can you comment on the new technologies that are in the market which claim that they can purify oil just by adding some ingredient into it, or other things? Can you just suggest if
Yeah,
RBN
I think this particular one, I think several people are claiming that particularly after frying, adding some sort of adsorbents, and due to that, they say that no, some of these what you call antioxidants, particularly some of the polymeric materials, they get absorbed and they can reuse it. But thing is, I also reviewed a couple of what you call applications in FSSA. They could not really submit a proper what you call backup study. Say, for example, when they are submitting proposal, they never really bother about polar material. That is the reason I think most of these what you call ingredients, particularly as these additives which are being used to the what you call these oils, adsorbents, they are using, I think, without the approval of FSA. So I have my own doubts. See, basically what really happens, these are some of the toxic components. If we don't filter properly, again that contaminant will go to the oil. And for the sake of what you call just like that, some short-term gains, I think industry should not use that. If they want to really use, they need to really what you call Say, for example, a couple of people, they came and we asked them to go to NIN and CFTRI. They never went there and they withdrawn it. So like that, I don't really endorse this particular adsorbent used particularly for what you call purifying the reused oils, frying oils. I don't endorse.
Yeah, Prasad. I think when we were in the panel, we used to get so many queries about this adsorbents, but there is no scientific basis behind this.
Okay,
It
thank
cannot
you.
be validated.
Okay, thank you. I think there are several questions. One question is about claims of ghee and then how is ghee really good? And there are a lot of YouTube videos and misinformation that there is consumption of ghee on a daily basis is really good. And to what extent should we should we restrict it? Who will take this question?
I'll take.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so ghee is the animal fat which contains about 60% of the long chain saturated fatty acids. So we have a cutoff about 10% of the your saturated fat content should not exceed the 10% of the total fatty acids. So ghee is a saturated fat and should be moderately consumed. And only thing advantage of ghee is it contains some amount of medium and short chain fatty acids and conjugated nucleic acid, which has some benefit, but the quantity is very, very less. We should consider about the saturated fat, which is about the 60%. So ghee consumption should be moderated.
Question to you, Dr. Ahmed. What is your logic behind telling to reduce consumption of butter and ghee? I think you answered that question. Then I will go to
No, cheese we can consume.
ghee and
butter has to be moderated.
Right, moderate consumption.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a message. Dr. Thakur, I'll take one question from YouTube for you. What is a nutraceutical benefit of coconut oil, and what is the advice to Kerala? If you can give Kerala people, is one question on.
Yes, so we have a coconut oil board, and coconut oil is being used from the centuries there. Sometimes when I was in WHO, a petition came to WHO and the Ministry of Health to ban this oil. But one of the few studies, they have also pointed out that wherever coconut oil is being used, especially in Kerala and Sri Lanka, their coronary artery disease are low, right? So this is being used, and maybe there is a lobby also which try to criticize, but as of now there is no evidence that coconut oil is bad. I think Dr. Ahmed is there. He can also further add to what I am saying.
Yeah, I will also add one more question to this, Dr. Ahmed.
First, let me finish about the coconut oil.
Yes.
Okay, so the people say that the coconut oil contains highest amount of saturated fats, about 90%, and they say that it contains medium chain fatty acid. Okay, so it is true. Okay, it contains medium chain fatty acids and C6, C8, C10, and C12. As per the textbook classification, they all comes under medium chain. But the C12, which is the lauric acid, it doesn't behave like the medium chain. So the medium chain fatty acids, they go directly into the lymphatic system and the liver and gets metabolized fast. Whereas the long chain, that is lauric acid, all form the chylomicron and goes to the liver for further metabolism. So, and the medium chain fatty acids directly absorbed, whereas the long chain fatty acid, including lauric acid, are absorbed in the form of chylomicron. So, definitely it increases the cholesterol level, and we have to moderate the consumption of coconut oil. And there is a lot of misconception which is going on about the virgin coconut oil is good, and then ultra virgin coconut oil. All are, if you see the fatty acid composition, all are having similar fatty acid composition. The only thing is the virgin coconut oil contains little bit high of polyphenols, but we still do not have any scientific evidence to prove that the virgin coconut oil is good or bad.
Thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Angela, there is a lot of interest on the tropical oils point that you've raised. You have answered in the Q&A
No,
section,
no,
but
but I
for
think
the
we
benefit
need,
of
we need separate
no, no,
things on.
Ahmed, can we just have the mic off for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Angela, the tropical oils, the tropical oils work that WHO has taken up seems to have generated a lot of interest. You have answered that in the Q&A, but quickly, if you can, in 2 lines, just suggest how you
Yes.
want to go about, especially it covers palm oil as well as coconut oil.
Okay, so thank you. So basically, I just mentioned it because there's always this question that comes up about palm and coconut oil. WHO's guidance is on saturated fats. It does not go into details of specific foods or classes of foods to say that coconut oil is bad or palm oil is bad. But of course, we know that they are high in saturated acid, and if you consume beyond 10%, there is an increased association with coronary heart disease. So there are a lot of opposing views. Now you can see from the questions also that, there's a school of thought that says that WHO's guideline on saturated fatty acid does not apply to tropical oils. There's public confusion, misinformation, and so on. So what the tropical oil consumption review and proposed guidance is going to do is to look at the evidence of these oils and clarify what exactly their benefits are, or their, so it is taking one step further than the saturated fats to look at this in a sort of separately to see whether there are benefits, detrimental effects, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are several questions. All are important for as a consumer for us. Questions on whether butter and cheese are good, how much they should be taken. One important question I think before panel discussion I'll take is if you are claiming ITFA and RTFA are almost same and are beneficial, the major RTFA transvaccinic acid minor is CLA. How do you think TFA? Yeah.
Yeah,
Dr. Sanjit's question. Yes, yes.
Can I answer this question? See, the ruminant trans fatty acids, you have acetic acid, conjugated linoleic acid. Now, as per the Kodak definition, the conjugated linoleic acid is removed from the trans fats list. So now it is not being considered as the trans fats, conjugated linoleic acid, because conjugated linoleic acid has several beneficial effects. So now it is being removed by the Kodaks as the trans fats.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. There are some more questions on YouTube. I'll keep the questions towards the end. I request the panelists to stay back if you can, if your time permits, because we are running almost 15-20 minutes late. But we promise that we'll try to conclude this as early as possible with important panel discussion points, because we'll have to move to policy and regulation and also the academics, beyond what we learned. But if you can take time out, please answer the questions in the Q&A box, each of you. It will be very helpful for us. Thank you. That this is generating a lot of interest, and then I see there is no depletion in the number of participants that is there either online on YouTube or here. So which means it is taking a sustained interest. So let's now move to the panel discussion, which is very, very important part of this e-dialogue. After that, we'll have some quick Q&A, and then I'll sum up in 5 key takeaways. So the panel discussion will be on making healthier oils a default choice. How do we make it? It covers processing, how processing can ensure the nutrition value is retained, and then they are made healthy oils are made as a default choice, even for those who are making processed food, street foods, or whatever, and also looks at various other factors. But before that, there are four panelists, elite panelists coming from different backgrounds here. I request Manasa and Sushmita to quickly introduce all the four at one go, and so that I can take the questions quickly one after the other.
To guide us through this panel discussion, we are fortunate to be joined by an excellent panel of experts. It's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist, Dr. Swati Bharadwaj. She serves as a senior technical advisor at Resolve to Save Lives. She is a public health nutrition expert with over 2 decades of experience in nutrition, food safety, and dietary risk factors for non-communicable diseases, including trans fat and high in fat, salt, and sugar foods. She holds a PhD in food and nutrition from the University of Delhi and has extensive expertise in food and nutrition policy development, implementation, food labeling, chemical analysis of foods, and clinical research supporting a healthier food environment. She has authored several peer-reviewed research publications and serves on the Food Safety Standard Authority of India's scientific panel on food labeling and claims, contributing to the development of evidence-based policies for healthier diets in India. We welcome you, ma'am. Next, I'm delighted to introduce our second panelist, Dr. Usha Rani currently serves as Senior Principal Scientist at CFTRI. She's an expert in analytical chemistry and lipidomics, a gold medalist in BSc Chemistry. She completed her PhD at University of Hyderabad and pursued postdoctoral research at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. With over a decade of research experience, she integrates advanced mass spectrometry, chromatography, and molecular modeling to advance food safety, lipid metabolism, and regulatory science. Ma'am has published over 660 research papers, authorized 8 book chapters, contributing to 5 BIS standards, and led numerous national, international, and industry funded projects, including initiatives on analytical method validation. Beyond her research, ma'am has actively contributed to shaping food standards and rapid analytical testing frameworks as a member of expert panels for FSSAI, BIS, Codex, and WHO. Now, we welcome you, ma'am. Now, I request Ms. Sushmita to introduce the other panelist for the day.
Please go ahead, Sushmita.
Yes, sir. It's my pleasure to introduce our third panelist for today, Dr. Kavita Ramasamy. Ma'am is a seasoned expert in food safety and policy development in India with over 15 years of experience. Ma'am holds a PhD in food and nutrition and was a university topper, reflecting her strong academic foundation. At FSSAI, ma'am has led several landmark initiatives, including public and stakeholder awareness campaigns, design of the approval framework for nutraceuticals, health supplements, and functional foods, and strengthening of food safety systems across the country. Ma'am has spearheaded nationwide food commodity surveillance programs to identify risks and ensure compliance. Ma'am has played an important role in aligning India's food standards with international codex regulations. Currently, she coordinates several scientific panels at FSSAI, ensuring food safety, supporting innovation in the food industry, and enhancing India's global standing in food safety standards. We welcome you, ma'am. And next, I'm honored to introduce our final panelist for today, Dr. Sunita Chandorkar. Ma'am is an Associate Professor of Food and Nutrition at the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda. Ma'am is an eminent academic and researcher with over 3 decades of experience in teaching and research in the field of food and nutrition. Ma'am's work is strongly grounded in public health and sustainability with a focus on food labeling, nutrient profiling, food composition analysis, and product reformulation. Ma'am is an active member of several professional organizations like Association of Food Scientists and Technologists of India, Nutrition Society of India, AOAC India chapter. Ma'am also serves as a member of FSSAI Scientific Panel on Labeling and Claims and contributes to Codex Alimentarius working groups on nutrient profiling and labeling. Through her active engagement in national and international collaborations, ma'am continues to play a significant role in advancing evidence-based food and nutrition policies. We welcome all the panel experts to today's session. Thank you.
Thank you for those quick introductions. Now I will ask few questions to the panelists. First, I will start with Dr. Usha Rani. There is a lot of discussion on technological solutions for ensuring healthy fats are available and unhealthy fats are minimized. So, what are the technological solutions that are available today to replace unhealthy oils, but also maintain the taste that the unhealthy fats that usually are supposed to give the processed foods? The entire debate about ultra processed foods, even in Lancet series, is about the kinds of fats that are used to ensure that bliss point in that particular food. So can you just tell us what are the technologies that are available now?
Yeah, the first point that I would like to correct you is there is nothing called as oil as unhealthy. As you have seen in the previous presentation, every oil has a key ingredient. It is the method of preparation of the food which actually transforms. That means when the oil is deep fried, you find that there are certain important processing contaminants which could be a trans fat or an acrylamide which causes the toxicity or harm to the particular food commodity. So when you're seeing the at the first, when you are making the final finished food product, which is a snacks or a dried food, dried fried foods which you find in the street. So the major important thing is how do we make that in a better way so that it is healthier to the population. Not about oil. It's about the food that you are eating. So the processed and the final food that we are getting because of the deep frying of the oil, the best solution, technological solutions, which is also proven globally by India, US, and Europe, is high oleic oil content. So if you take a high oleic oil content sunflower oil or a canola oil and you fry it, then definitely the fried snacks and these particular foods which we are eating as an ultra processed foods and which is a snack culture is more high in India because of its tradition or because of our dietary pattern. If we reduce that dietary consumption of snacks and also fry it in a proper oil, we are eating healthy. That is one way to fix our food. The second important thing is we are randomly changing our dietary pattern or food pattern more to bakery and confectionery, which are the ultra processed foods like cakes, pastries, and etc. And we initially had adopted this particular foods and food formulations by using butter, ghee, and vanaspati because those are the easier available source and that gives you the taste and texture because of its mouthfeel. The fat content that you use is very high and gives the mouthfeel. So the best solution here is the oleoresin structured fats. CSER CFTRI has worked on the technologies related to the blended oil technologies or frying assessment and also shelf life of this oil life. And what we found is 80% of rice bran oil and 20% of soybean oil and making it as an oil gel is an excellent cost effective technology for bakery and confectionery products. So what we need to look in is when we are taking an oil, which oil we need to take for the deep frying, and when you're frying it, is this proper enough way to get less amount of the unhealthy fat, that is the saturated fat content or the total trans fat is finally being formed in the food. So that is very very important before we judge that this oil is good and that oil is not good. So that's my first explanation, that technological solutions are there, which is high oleic oils or oleo-based technologies in the bakery would be the plausible fat replacers to make our final finished foods a better foods with a better fat intake.
Yeah, I mean, while we completely understand that it's not any oil which is unhealthy, but the
Yes.
proportion of kind of fatty acids that are there which makes it, so it
Yeah.
all comes from the kind of oil that you choose. So it is not one oil that will accrue all benefits, but the importance of different varieties of oils is again stressed. Thank you for that. I'll move to Dr. Sunita with a additional question on the same thing. You have been working in the areas of creating community level education and nutrition education on that. But how do we shift, taking off from where Dr. Usharani has left? How much oil to how to use oil is the major thing that I think now the education needs to focus. It's not just about whether oil is good or not, whether fat is good or not, whether this fat is good or that fat is good, but also what and how of it and how much of it. That is important. What is your take on that? I think we with especially with general consumers and families and then adolescents in view, what do you suggest? You need to turn on your mic. Dr. Sunita, you need to turn on your mic.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, thank you for that question. So, essentially, if we need to, essentially, we need to talk about again what the oil is going to be used for. So, there are
Sorry, your audio. There is some issue with your audio.
essentially three ways in which we use oil. So, which oil? Oh, is it?
Yeah, now it's
Am I
okay.
not audible?
Now it's okay.
Okay, okay, fine. So, if we need to answer this question,
We lost you again. I think I'll come back to you, Dr. Sunita. I think
we have to look at, we have to understand that no single oil is all kind. There's some problem with the oil. Yes, yes. My connection seems to be unstable.
you can
I'll
turn
just
off your
get back
video
on my
for a
cell
while.
phone.
Yeah, I'll just.
I'll do that.
Meanwhile, I'll just move to Dr. Kavita with a question, and then I'll come back to you with the same question again. Okay, Dr.
I'll do
Kavita,
that.
please let us know.
Sure.
What's as a regulator? I know it's a very tough question to you to answer. That we are day in and day out confronting all these things. What are the regulatory mechanisms that are there to prevent unhealthy substitutions, repeated reuse of oils, and then to ensure that healthier options are default choices for Indian consumers? Some regulatory mechanism that FSSA has put in place and what is yet to be done. If you can just quickly tell us.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Subara, for the wonderful question and for the forum. The core mandate of FSSA is to make science-based standards for the article of food and to regulate the entire supply chain to ensure that the end consumer receives a safe and wholesome food. And also, if you look into the definition of the food, it covers everything, all unprocessed, processed, primary, chewing gum, alcohol, whatnot, GM, everything. Also, as a regulator, we are not coining anything as healthy, as Dr. Usha said. Even the caffeinated beverages, which is sold globally as energy drink, we are terming it as a caffeinated beverage only. And if you look into all our regulations, all are mandatory except the fortification regulation, because we are saying once the government declares something is evident, deficiency is obvious, then we'll make it as mandatory, all those fortification. Now it is a voluntary regulation. So coming to the oils and fats, Dr. RBN Prasad already stated, like we have some 64 standards for oils, fats, and oil emulsions. And that is basically the vertical and the horizontal standards. Vertical, primarily the quality parameters, which is essentially focusing to curb the adulteration, and all the safety parameters, labeling provisions are in place. So one such major intervention what FSSA did was to bring the regulation on trans fatty acid. We all know it's unsaturated one, it has no nutritional significance. But when the FSS Act was passed and the regulations were made, there were no limits set for the trans fats. So the authority started a national consultation with NIN in 2010 and brought the limit of trans fatty acid to 10% in 2013. And gradually we brought it down to 5% in the food commodities, which is containing oil and then oils, fats, vanaspati, etc. And what we did is in 2018, we notified the advertisement and claims regulation, because earlier it was a combined regulation. We had the labeling, advertisement, and claims as a single regulation. Then later we brought a separate regulation, wherein we have given a provision for the FBO to make the trans fat free claim. If the product is containing 0.2 gram of trans fat per 100 gram or 100 ml, then they can make a claim. They can display in the bakeries and restaurants, but it is a voluntary initiative. Simultaneously, in 2018, WHO also came up with a replace with the intention to eliminate the trans fatty acid or to replace it with a healthier option from the global supply chain. What the authority did is, we conducted a surveillance because measuring compliance in the market, what is the regulatory impact is an ongoing task of the authority. And we cannot straight away penalize. We have to, surveillance is an aspect. We give the improvement, we will not go with the penalization. So we started that surveillance in 2021, wherein we could analyze only 2 isomers because lack of CRM, laboratories were not trained. So that also showed a fair this thing. So we could, that time in 2021, 3% was the limit. And we consulted WHO, we took their guidance, and we also consulted several countries who are adopting the WHO principle. We got to know some 30 plus isomers are there. But even we took the expert advice from Dr. Prasad, and India centric, we are focusing only on 11 isomers. So we could carry out the PT, everything. And we once again conducted a pan-India surveillance involving the packed and the loose commodities. Some 11,000 samples were analyzed. All categories: frozen, fried, sweets, confectionery, bakery. So we could see better results because as per the health expert, 1% can come from trans fatty acid, which is equivalent to 2.2 gram per day. So we could see 95% are ensuring compliance. So this is one such initiative I wanted to emphasize. Not only we set the standard, we look into the ground reality. So as I said, we are explicitly not calling us healthy, but we are doing away all this simultaneously. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. And then I'll, of course, come back with another question to you at a later point of time. But if Dr. Sunita set her mic right, probably we can go back to the question that we left. Yeah.
Yes, I think I can answer
yeah.
the question now.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. And what I wanted to put across was it's not one single oil that meets all our cooking requirements. So we need to really ask, what is the purpose of using this oil? What is the role of this oil? Is it going to be used for frying? Is it going to be used for tempering? Or is it going to be used as a in raw form as a topping? So many a times we use it as a salad dressing, or even otherwise there are a lot of traditional foods where just raw oil is added. So if we are planning to use it for frying, then as mentioned by previous speaker, we need to have an oil that has a high oxidative point and high smoking point. She mentioned oleic acid, where generally the refined sunflower and other oils, actually there is avocado oil which we generally don't use, but some of the oils that are commonly available in India would include refined sunflower oil. If it is going to be used for moderate heat cooking, that is, so we can use any oil that is commonly used in Indian households, namely the mustard oil or the groundnut oil or even the sesame oil, essentially for only not for foods that are not fried, or the olive oil essentially for the foods that are not fried. So this is essentially what we need to understand, and we need to bring home the point that not all oils at all times are healthy. Even the healthiest oil, if it used for the right purpose, what it is intended to be used for, can be unhealthy. Also the quantity of oil, because we don't talk of oil in milliliters, but we need to talk in terms of teaspoons, etc., which will help people to make good judgments about how much oil and how to use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are several questions that the panelists can also take in the chat box. But before that, I'll go to Dr. Swati, who's been patiently waiting. And from the, with all your work in public health, nutrition, and the policy advocacy, what does it take to make these healthier options a default choice in India? And what are the major policy levers that you think should be turned? Is it regulation? Is it procurement? Is it the physical measure, fiscal measures, or is it, sitting with the industry and discussing and thrashing it out? What is very important?
Thank you. Very good afternoon to all. And at the outset, I would like to thank you, sir, and thank you, NIN, for having me on this forum. Like you mentioned, I would be answering this question from a more public health approach. A lot has been mentioned by previous speakers, and I would just like to add that India or any other country, if we have to make healthier oil the default choice, we need to adapt a more holistic approach and move from only a choice-based approach to a more system-focused design. When I say this, it is not undermining the importance of nutrition education as such, but it focuses on ensuring that what we are teaching or preaching is also available in the markets around us. So at present, the current food environment nudges people towards oils and fats that are easily available at lower costs. However, these are not the most healthier options that are available and do contain high proportion of unhealthy fats. We know that street vendors, school canteens, and even the small eateries buy whatever oil is affordable and is stocked by local large distributors. The task is to flip that default. The default is there, we have to flip it so that the easiest, cheapest, and most easily available option is also the healthier one. So if we want healthy oils to become the default, we have to change what is available in the supply chain to ensure availability and also the affordability of the healthier oils, especially for small businesses and informal markets as well. We cannot leave them out. We also need to ensure that the public procurement programs, which is the government-led safety net programs, mandates healthier oils in their while they're procuring oils, like PM Poshan or the school or government canteens, have these oils stocked up so that it becomes a market shaper and supports the market shift. The distributors stock these up and they are easily available for the informal sector as well. Now, coming on to the next question which you posed, which is like which policy levers works best, regulation versus procurement or the fiscal measures? This is a very, very critical and important one when we're talking from a public health point. And in an Indian context, what we have seen so far, all three these levers matter. And they work best when they are utilized or they are bring into forum as a package. So while regulation sets the floor by placing a legal limit, Dr. Kavita very nicely mentioned the trans fat example. So for trans fat, we have a legal limit. So that sets the floor for us. Procurement, specifically, like I mentioned, the public procurement programs, that creates the demand where the government-led safety net programs procure healthy oils, and that leads to a predictable demand and pushes the suppliers or the manufacturers to reformulate. And then comes the fiscal measure that can tilt the market by incentivizing usage of healthier options, specifically healthier oils, or for reformulating inputs that can support this transition. That is also very, very important for us. Specifically when a large sector is informal or comprises of small and medium enterprises. So these are the things which I would like to add. So in short, the take-home message which I think would be helpful for all of us is all three matter equally. Regulation would remove the worst fats or the unhealthy choices. Procurement will normalize the usage of healthier choices or healthier oils. And fiscal tools specifically will accelerate the transition, especially for the small players. Thank you.
Very nicely put. Regulation, procurement, and also how regulation makes it very important to remove unhealthy usage of unhealthy oils. We don't want to call unhealthy fats, whatever. And also the procurement, how it makes it very, very normal for the default choice to be the healthier option. And also the ultimately then it is possible to create that environment at a policy level. Thank you very much. And then we now move to taking off from where you left. I'll go to Dr. Usharani again. What is the kind of technology support? Because when you take a regulation in Indian scenario, it is not just the big industry that of course, they have a lot of stakes and say in a lot of regulation that happens. But nevertheless, there is also a large, MSMEs that are there, and also small scale industries that are there, and also unorganized sector. How to transition them to make the healthier options? What are the technology that is available to support them at a lesser cost for them, so that
Yeah.
it is not burdensome on them and it is not transferred to the consumer as well?
Yes, I completely agree. When it is important that we need to give them the solutions, and the best solution is a science-driven technology solutions. And for giving the science-driven, many of them think that the small scale and middle scale enterprises do not have that particular support, and hence they try to have their own formulations, and which lead to various kinds of problems. As rightly pointed out from the survey from Thakur sir, the main problem is the unorganized sector or the street foods or the vendors, which they actually lead into different kind of a situation. There is a non-availability of oil. There is a no possible way to intervene to develop that particular food or that particular snack, and there is a high demand for that snack. So this leads to the compromise in utilization of the not utilizing the right oil. It may be a used oil, it may be another possible cheaper oil that they are trying to blend and then use. So the best solutions for this is CSAR, CFTRI can provide them a pilot scale a validation. They can come to us to give, so that we give them the solutions for the how to formulate for their food product. In the case of the street vendors or to the consumers, it is important that there is a need of an educational awareness, which could lead them to have a better solutions and the choices. So we also conduct a training for bakery and confectionery, especially the SMEs. If you see, it's a bakery and confectionery, which is you found it at every other street, and these are done even by a simple self-help groups and women entrepreneurs. So we conduct a short-term training courses, which is hardly for a 5 days. We train them for a better food practices in bakery and confectionaries, and give them simple solutions of related to the alternatives of butter, fat, and a composition of vegetable oil, which can be utilized for their developed products, either traditional or related to the bakery and confectionery. So the best solutions are can be intervened by having a training courses or interacting with us, where we can transfer the technologies to the startups or to the SMEs with a very easier solutions for them, and it is cost effective. So
Okay.
that is, we always have this platform, and we always conduct a bakery confectionery course for 30 days and give them the certificate, so that they can start up a new bakery or a confectionery, which could actually not have a higher amount of processed fat, especially the saturated fat and trans fat. The bigger culprit is mainly in the bakery rather than in our traditional foods, but we also have in our traditional foods, which we do not want to change our practices.
Correct.
That is the reason why we need to educate them with the better recipes before we ask them to take these technologies and say that these are the better solutions, because they have a hurdle. If you see the past history, rice bran oil was never been appreciated. We were always happy with the groundnut oil and the sunflower oil because of whatever the flavor or the point it is. But when it is been proven that it has a better smoke point, when it is been proven that it has a gamma oryzanol, which helps the cardiovascular problem, people started changing. At least the household starts changing. Once the household starts changing, then definitely the street vendors also change, because it is a consumer which is a driven for the healthier choices, and
Yeah.
it is a consumer's right. If he demands his quality, definitely the manufacturer shifts their goals and
Yeah.
innovations towards that direction, and CFTRA
Okay.
will act as a bridge to both of them. This is what I would say. We would be ready to help any SMEs which would like to interact and have a food formulation. Thank you.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then, of course, Dr. Sunita Chandrakar had actually looked into a lot of prepackaged foods, and then also divided them as processed, semi-processed, ultra-processed, based on the NOVA classification, also the Indian dietary guidelines classification. But one insight that I want from you, Dr. Sunita, is about what is the extent of saturated fats and trans fats that we have in the processed prepackaged foods, and I don't know whether we can call them ultra processed food, because already the industry is saying, ultra processing is not the devil. It is about how much we eat and what we eat from various sources. Nevertheless, that debate goes on, but in the context of latest evidence that we've got from the Lancet UPF and Human Health series, and also from the earlier series by Dr. Barry Popkins' group. Now it is important for us because children are susceptible. They are most available, as Swati has already said, easily available and affordable and accessible. So, and what is the extent of the fats of concern that are there in these UPFs? Please tell us.
Sure, I'll just switch off my video because I'm having some problem with the net connectivity.
Yeah, we are fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So a very good question, Dr. Subara. The foods that we analyzed were essentially based on a survey. These were the foods that were popularly consumed by adolescents who are the major takers of these. And those foods have essentially, we try to classify them based on the Novo classification or NOVA classification or any other classification that is available for ultra processed foods, and all of them fall under the ultra processed category. Now, to say something about the trans fat first, uh, these same foods we had analyzed a decade ago, and they did have considerable amount of trans fat. But when we analyzed them this time in 24-25, after a decade, we found a big change. There was very little or no trans fat. The only trans fat we found was in the partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, which was well below the specified limit. That is one thing. And in others, it was below the detection limit. Saturated fat, yes, it was present. The most common food groups or categories were oil emulsions, where we include mayonnaise, dips, etc. They were the highest. And as mentioned by Dr. Usha Rani, the confectioneries and bakeries are the next ones that were high in saturated fats. After that came some of the frozen desserts, and the ready-to-eat savories, of course, were high in saturated fats. This was quite a surprising finding. So we tried to trace the origin of the fat that must have been used for, preparation of these products. And we tried to use some statistical tests in order to
We've lost you at the very important stage. Hello, Dr. Sunita.
I'm not audible again.
No, the last part, the statistical
Okay.
analysis to see which
Okay.
ones, yeah,
So
where
yes,
is it
yes.
coming from? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So this is something called principal component analysis. And we tried to, look at the signature fatty acid. Each fat has a signature fatty acid profile. So we use statistical analysis to identify which probable source of fat was incorporated or used for frying, leavening, shortening, etc. for some of these foods. So our findings suggest that most of the bakery products either had ghee, coconut oil, or vanaspati. The composite foods, namely the ready to eat foods, the fats and emulsions, namely the mayo, which is essentially a vegetarian mayo prepared from soybean oil, and there are other ready to eat savories, which essentially showed that they largely are prepared from palm oil. And the rest of the foods, essentially, the good news is the some of the other foods that were high in fat were essentially containing more of PUFA, like sunflower oil, soybean oil, etc. So these are essentially the findings from the analyzed products in our labs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's mixed news, good and bad for us. But TFA not being there is very good. Source of
Yes,
SFA being easily available ones, because we import a lot of palm oil and then it's a
yes,
default choice. And
right.
then there is also, good news is that there is also some high fat foods are there, but high fat is from PUFA. We'll be very happy if MUFA is also there in that. Thank you very much for this. And then I'll go to
Thank you.
Dr. Kavita once again. One debate always is, how do we ensure, how does FSSA ensure, uh, you know, repeated reuse of fats is not done, and then because unorganized sector, the street foods and restaurants, dabas, where a lot of people consume, and then the street shops where children get these foods. What is the mechanism that is there? Are we thinking in the direction as a regulator to restrict this? Because a lot of these away from home foods are majorly from this, other than the prepackaged foods. Prepackaged foods are fairly easy to regulate that way. Please.
Right. Yeah, thank you. We know that food businesses have an ethical obligation. They have to be transparent and honest in their marketing. So rather than focusing on any misbranding, malpractices, and misleading claims, they should genuinely invest in bringing healthy variants. Like they should reduce trans fat, salt, sugar, and they have to focus on increasing the protein, vitamins, phytochemicals, fibers. So, from the FBO perspective, transparent ingredient listing and scientific backing, it will help them to build the business, and they will also stand out as a credible one in the market. So, if they do health washing, it may boost the sales for a short term, but in the long run, it will, they will lose the goodwill reputation. The trust will be broken, and if it is found non-compliance, then they have to face the legal challenges as well. So, if from the regulatory point of view, we have given the limit for total polar compound for fresh oil as 15% and for the used cooking oil as 25%. So once the used cooking oil, if it reaches the 25%, none of the FBOs should top up. We have that mechanism called RUCO, repurpose used cooking oil. So this triple E strategy, we started with an intent so that it will go to the biodiesel manufacturing, soap manufacturing. So in this, we are doing this education, enforcement, and ecosystem. So whenever in the manufacturing unit, even the big players, the inspections is carried out at the manufacturing level, at the outlets also, how it is going, because sometimes it will find the way to the street vendors, small motels, all those stuff. Yes, as I said, self-compliance is the major thing they have to do. And also we insist in our regulation, like in licensing, there is a Schedule 4. It is a part of the regulation wherein we are insisting to use the oil only once, preferably, and not more than thrice. It should be either discarded or it can find mechanism to be used in other way, but not for fry. So another thing is that we are simultaneously educating and sensitizing the consumers as well. They have to be more vigilant in choosing, and they have to look into the label. We have those campaigns, her label kuch kehta hai, and heart attack rewind, and we
I
are
will.
also incentivizing. Yeah,
I will also add
we are
another
also
question on front of pack labeling. It is there in the YouTube, and I'm getting on WhatsApp these
okay.
questions. What's about
Okay,
front of pack
okay,
labeling about fats is one question that I got on WhatsApp and in YouTube. Sorry to add that,
okay.
please. We just have
Yeah.
about 1 or 2 minutes for you more. Yeah, please.
Okay, okay. So that is what the major thing is, that inspection is one thing. We also have advertisement monitoring committee. We do the monitoring of the products that is sold in the e-commerce and in the retail. If there is any non-compliance, and if we could get the test results, we have the InfoNet mechanism wherein we are checking all the products. So if there is any non-compliance, we are giving them an improvement notice. We are asking for a clarification. So at end of the day, it is a shared responsibility. As a regulator, we can say, but it is a shared responsibility of the food business operator and the consumer to ensure the food safety.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I will add one more question from YouTube. It says, how is that food influencers and doctors can report to FSSAI if there are any false claims, and what are the barriers in regulating such a market malpractice? Is there any direct mechanism by which doctors or by consumers or anybody can report to FSSAI about any concerning label, especially related to claims? Is the question, I think.
Yeah. Yes, we have the Safety Connect app. I know this is basically for the grievances because lots of unsubstantiated news are in circulation and through WhatsApp. So we don't have the scientific credible evidence. So we are insisting this, and we have a nodal point at every state. They can escalate to the district level. They can contact the food safety officer, the DO, and the food commissioner of the concerned state. If it is not addressed, they can further escalate to the headquarter. So we do address the grievances through proper channel. There is a grievance redressal mechanism in place, and this is the online portal Safety Connect app. So when there is a misleading claim or any such grievance, it can be reported to the authority.
Okay, thank you. There are several questions. I think this is sustained interest. I have not seen in any webinar like this for 3 hours, and people are still online and posting questions. Very, very interesting. Probably we may have to do part 2 of this later. But one question to Swati quickly about the specific concerns regarding the intake of, sat fats and trans fatty acids among children. What does public health say? And what is the policy? What the policy maker should prioritize immediately? Because recently in our economic survey also this has been raised that high fat sugar and salt foods are being consumed, ultra processed foods are being consumed. Should we restrict advertisement? Should we bring in more clarity on label? How to educate label related things to children? All these things have been put up in regulation, I mean in policy documents, but it is not coming as a regulation yet. So what is that we have to do, and what are the lessons that we can draw as a country from our neighbors or somebody else who has done elsewhere in the world? Quickly, you have only 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you again for this very, very important question. So talking about fat quality, children and adolescents are a critical group. We all know that. Children in India are constantly being exposed to fried foods early on, and which are usually poor in fat quality. So there's very early exposure leading to through packaged food items, easily available in school canteens, and the food sold just outside the school gates as well. Further, these days, we are also seeing marketing and digital food environments influencing the choices among the children. So we see it all around, and these patterns don't just affect the weight, but shapes the taste preferences also, and the dietary patterns that track into the adulthood. So this is very, very critical for us. This further impacts the long-term health, specifically the cardiovascular health, because it raises the metabolic risk for several disorders. While efforts are being made to ensure healthy food environment around children and adolescents, as being done under your leadership under the Let's Fix Our Food initiative, and also the Eat Right school regulation, which is somewhere in place as well. But it's a long road and requires a very, very well integrated approach. Like I mentioned earlier, this is not, there's no one solution to it. It has to be an integrated approach wherein the education through all forms reaches the children. What I would suggest in a structured way through schools. Schools are the best vehicle to impart this education. So that should be there. Also, then from the regulator side, setting up standards, clear standards for what should go inside a food product, what is something which should be available to the child around him or her in the school environment or even at home, and regulating the marketing practices as well. Like some of the countries have taken initiatives, and we've seen countries coming up with a complete ban on the advertisements for these high fat, sugar, salt foods, specifically to children during the prime hours. So which would be having a strong impact, as we would see going forward. But these are some of the learnings that we can definitely pick up from the neighboring countries or other countries where we see these things taking place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are several other questions, but we are running short of time. I will take one more question from the YouTube and WhatsApp. It's a common question. In the context of diverse diets, I think if Ahmed is here, Ahmed or Dr. RBN sir also can take this question. In a diverse diet, how much does oil choice really matter compared to the whole food fats sources? Use of cottonseed oil is not very much highlighted. Can we just have something on that? And then, should we prioritize oil variety or overall diet diversity? That's the question. If Ahmed is there or RBN sir is still there, I don't know. Otherwise, any of the panelists.
Dr. Hamadi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Doctor,
I think I'll.
Sir, you can take it, sir. You can take it.
I'll
Yeah.
just touch upon.
Yeah.
See, basically, cottonseed oil. It's a regional what you call. No, some of the regions it's very popular. So the thing is, it's also a good oil. So only thing is, of course, the processing is little tough compared to other oils because see, cottonseed oil. One of the question was there. Dr. Thakur responded to that. It contained actually gossypol. So initially, it has to be treated with the alkali, and because it's a being phenolic, we have to remove it. After that, it's a good oil. It's a polyunsaturated rich oil, omega-6 fatty acid rich oil. Absolutely, there is no problem. Cottonseed oil also is a good oil, something like sunflower oil. Anything more you want me to?
Yeah, about the diversity, I think I can take that. Diet diversity is something that is suggested by any dietary guidelines around the country for the best benefits and then getting overall nutrition that is possible. And diversity in oils that we use and fats also is recommended to ensure that we get good proportion of PUFA and MUFA, lesser of trans fats, keeping it less than 10% of total energy. And trans fats, better avoided is the message that we give. So I think there are several questions, and then for me to summarize 5 key takeaways from this particular e-dialogue is a tough task, but I'll try to do that. And I'll keep it to the context of the school children and adolescents and the food choices and ultra processed foods and NCDs that are growing. With that in the context, the first takeaway from this entire thing is that there is no doubt there is a direct association between the kind of oils and fats that we consume and the health that we accrue. Mainly the kind of saturated fats, the extent of saturated fats, and the frequency that we have, and the kind of foods through which we get them have a direct association with the later non-communicable diseases, most importantly CVDs and CHDs. This is given from Dr. Angela's presentation. Although there are doubts about uh, the proportions, the total, but generally there is a consensus agreement around the world, including dietary guidelines for Indians, that energy from fats should not exceed 30% of total energy, and visible fats especially prefer the PUFAs and MUFAs than SFAs. Of course, yes, another most important thing is, as Swati said and many other panelists said, unfortunately, the availability, accessibility, and affordability of the fats and oils that are high in saturated fats and the way they are used for making ultra processed foods is making them default choice, making unhealthy options default choices. There is a need to step up our regulatory mechanism and also other policy levers, including fiscal measures and other things, to make healthier options more and more available and accessible for adolescents and children, including the ones in processed foods, street side foods, and also the traditional foods. It is usually presumed that traditional foods are very, very healthy, but traditional foods also, if they are using any of these oils, the variety of oils, the repetition of usage of oils, the heating of oils, if all these are practiced on a day-to-day basis, they also can become little difficult. From RBN's talk, what I take is, there is India is positioned well in terms of the safety of oils. That is a good news for us. But while we address clinical, biological, thermal, regulatory, physical, and nutritional safety of the oils, it is very, very important to keep our innovations going to ensure how gently oxygen can be controlled and the presence of antioxidants is retained. That's a very, very important one from both Dr. Usha and Dr. RBN that I take. And this is very, very important for us to go ahead. Thank you, sir, for the good news that you gave, that India is positioned the kind we, including there are a lot of misnomers about refined oil, about kachi gani tel, but whichever oil you take, I mean, we can be, but important to note that FSSAI's regulation ensures loose oils should be restricted, the packed ones to be taken, no adulteration. That is to restrict adulteration. Blending is still an issue, so better to rotate or use multiple oils at one go at home instead of expecting the vendor to sell you blended oils. That's a another message. And finally, the most important message from Dr. Thakur's and Swati's points are that the regulatory mechanism can be improved, an enabling environment can be created if we have consensus and dialogue, constant dialogue and exchange of latest research between the nutritionists, agriculturists, and the policymakers. So this has to happen. And for our children, uh, the importance of educating children is very important, as Dr. Sunita said. And thank you for the good news that the ultra processed foods have less of trans fats, but saturated fats is still a concern. We can still reduce it. And high fat foods are available. That is a cause of concern. But thank you for telling us that PUFA is more than the trans fats and saturated fats in that. So these are some of the 5 key takeaways. But to emphasize that children choose healthy, it is not important just to educate them, but is also important to turn other policy levers, including agriculture, regulation, and what we make them available for the manufacturers, the street side vendors, and the restaurants and the dhabas and our own homes. What is the kind of oils that we make them available and how it be? It's not just about the quality, but how to use them, in what proportion to use them. That is more important. There are no unhealthy oils, as Dr. Usha says. It is about how much we use and how often we use and how well we use. That determines. Thank you for this very, very enlightening session. I enjoyed being part of this, and so are our participants. See, the numbers are still over 100. In usually many of these webinars, we see 150, 160 in the beginning, and it comes down to 60 or 30 or 40 towards the end. But it's 3 hours since we started, and the numbers are still good, and the questions are still coming. See, now also I got a question in Q&A session, but please take your time to answer. I've copy pasted all these questions. And thank you very much. Thank you all. Thanks to the media people. Thanks to my, LFOF collaborators. I can't name all organizations once again, but their logos are here. All of you, and then RTSL and Guy and UNICEF for supporting this webinar for us. Thank you very much for bringing together these experts. Thanks to all the students and those who are watching on YouTube. And thank you, the panelists, and taking your time out for a long drawn discussion. And thank you, the speakers, RBN sir and Dr. Angela, Dr. Ahmed, and Dr. Thakur. Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend, but mull over this. Good fats,
I
bad
think
fats
just
are not bad.
can I make a comment?
Yes,
I
sir.
think this type of programs you should really publicize in all food technology colleges.
Yes.
Wherever food technology being taught, I think it will be really like a feast for them. I think in future, I think make it a point to circulate, because it's, after all, it's a webinar and nobody can really attend it. I think it will be, we should popularize to the food technology students.
Yes, sir. Yes, and this video recording is available, and all the panelists and members and attendees are free to take the YouTube link and then share it with people. This entire webinar is available YouTube on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you for the great initiative. Yeah. Thank you.
And please
Thank you.
brace up for our next e-dialogue on food environments and food and nutrition literacy, which will come up very soon, probably most probably towards this month end. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye. Bye.